We are live. Welcome to the Digital Renegade podcast. I'm your host, the Dashing Rogue, and I'm with my frequent sidekick, Artistic Layman. You there, Luke?
And is there a sense that solar is okay for running your house, but you can't run a village or a city on it?
You don't make solar panels with solar panels.
Oh! No.
You don't make solar panels. What is that from?
It's from an interview on the McFay podcast.
Oh, you don't make solar panels with solar. Well, I mean, I think that's common sense, but common sense is a superpower nowadays. Oh, well, we have a very interesting show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That for those who want to know what that song was, that was "Who's Ready for Tomorrow" by the Rat Boy, and IBDY, I believe his name is. So we're gonna have an interesting thing to talk about because I'm looking for work. I'm still looking for work, and fuck the bastards who let me go last time. Because you don't let people. If I had if I could be an authoritarian for the day, the one thing I would say is you don't get to let people go during the winter seasons, or even the holiday seasons for that matter. You let people go during November or December. You're basically saying you have to give them back pay, okay? Because no one's hiring during that time. So I have to look for work. And even though technically marijuana is legal here in Arizona, they still technically allow you to discriminate against people who smoke marijuana. And so that's one of the reasons why we're talking about specifically phantom liberties and libertarian paternalism. Now, do you know anything about libertarian paternalism, Luke?
Refresh my memory.
So libertarian paternalism is the idea that we can nudge people into a certain type of mindset. We could warp society. So here you go. Like Ben Shapiro will explain it to us.
Or like Bill Gates with his support of bug food.
Yeah. So no. It's like the idea that you could get cheaper food if it's bugs. So people who are poor will eat bugs, and then people who are richer want meat.
And it's just a mere coincidence that he has investments into bug companies.
No, it's like the idea that you could give people an option, an illusion of choice. Like, let's say, I want to have more organ donors. So we're going to make people have a choice between opting in versus opting out, right? So, or opting out versus opting in. Depending on how people's mindset and how their consumption works, you basically are changing the default state of being. Because there are three choices. You can either opt in, opt out, or do nothing. And if they can control the do nothing part, then they can basically control you. Now play it, Luke.
So you referenced the book Nudge by Cass Sunstein at some point on the podcast, and I'm very interested in the book, and I'm just curious what your thoughts on the concept of libertarian paternalism are, because it sounds sort of oxymoronic, but I thought it was pretty interesting.
It is an interesting book. So Cass Sunstein's book Nudge was used by the Obama administration as sort of a handbook in terms of if you change for people who've never read the book, the basic idea is this: if you change the sort of presets in life, people are not active, people are passive, and an object at rest remains at rest. So there's this sort of human inertia. So if you go into a cafeteria and all the choices are hamburgers and pizza, people will eat hamburgers and pizza. But if you take the hamburgers and pizza out and you put a regular mango, people will eat a regular mango. Because now there's an actual burden to them to have to switch over to hamburgers and pizza. That's the idea of the libertarian paternalism, basically. That for organ donation, right? Instead of you having to opt into organ donation, we'll just make the default on your card that you're going to be an organ donor now, and then you have to physically opt out of being an organ donor. So my problem with this general idea is that it assumes that your presets should be everyone's presets. I think that, there's things that I thrill to in that. I think everyone does, right? So I tend to be somebody who thinks that we need more organ donation. In fact, I'm such a libertarian, I think there should actually be organ markets in some cases.
Be careful, Goy. Be careful. Careful now. You get your adrenochrome on, right? But, seriously, there should be organ markets. I don't even know how that would work. What would it be, Amazon A to Z to get your spinal column fixed or whatever have you? I don't know. Keep going.
Well, from a Uyghur camp, I'm sure.
Yeah, from a week. Yeah, we'll just buy a bunch of Chinese black market organs because that's not going to end well for anybody. I mean, isn't that exactly how World War Z started? They had black market organs, and then people got infected with the virus that way. I don't know. Keep going.
But the fact is that there are a lot of people who don't believe that, and they'd be shocked to learn because they don't read the paperwork that when a loved one dies, they're an organ donor, and it's upsetting them. It violates their religious precepts. So I think that the baseline should be non-interventionism, not setting the preset what I want it to be, because I don't get to control you. I mean, I think that's where libertarian paternalism comes into conflict, because even the idea they're going to set the presets is paternalistic in a non-libertarian fashion.
All right, thank you.
Well, okay. And here's the problem, though, right? In Arizona, it's basically they legalized marijuana, right? But here's the kicker, though, and here's the big fucking kicker. Here you go, Luke. I'll pull this up for you. Here you go. There we go. From I guess the local news, so to speak. It's recreational now, which, by the way, it's not that you're doing a card. You're on a card. You don't need a card anymore. If you needed a card, you basically playing the victim like, oh, I got a sticky poo, and now I need to get marijuana or something. No, that's stupid. But if it's recreational, at what point, my question then becomes, do the employers get to discriminate against you, right? Like the drug tests that exist right now, and yeah, I am taking a drug test, and I'm also having another interview tomorrow because I am not giving up without a fight. But I am gonna say this: I'm not doing anymore. I'm not doing this shit anymore. There's no reason for me to do it. The boomer bush is basically boring for me now, and it only gets me to normal. But play it, Luke.
Let's see.
15 states plus Washington, D.C. now have legal recreational marijuana for sale, and that includes Arizona.
Recreational pot will be taxed here at 16%. So we're following
Recreational
the market. See how much-
reefer. Recreational reefer. You got it just rolls off the tongue. You know, recreational pot sounds like it sounds dirty. Recreational reefer, please. That's the correct politically correct term. Go on.
those in the marijuana business can make, and the numbers are astounding. Arizona has always been known for its 5 C's: cotton, copper, citrus, climate, and cattle. But now in 2021, you can add another C: cannabis. You'd never know it, but inside this nondescript building is a multi-million-dollar state-of-the-art growing operation. How do you describe what you do? Are you a farmer? Are you a businessman? What are you?
Depending on the conversation, I'm still a consultant.
Bryce Scala is the president and co-founder of Item 9 Labs.
Down here we have 20,000 square feet on about 50 acres. We will be expanding.
The U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing may be where money is made, but this is where money is grown. Most people would think that...
No, this is where money is made. It's where there's money, like they printed money, but this is where we're adding the value. This is where value is made. And the reason I bring this up, and this is the thing that just upsets me about this, is that it's legal, right? But apparently, for whatever reason, they could still discriminate against you. Employers can still say, no, we don't want to hire you because you're a pothead or something like that. But the problem here, and this is something that I'm really asking is, where does it stop? Like, if you're going to monitor my internet access, like my social media account or what have you, for like, let's say, racismus or sexismus or capitalismus, let's say, for some of those people out there, at what point do you get to pay me? If you're going to watch me, like, off work hours, are you really going to be the guy who forces me to basically, you know, adhere to the company policy, even to the point where I am basically an employee, even after the fact, right? Like, that's the real question, because, you know, there's that old saying, weekends are made for Michelob, right? If I get smashed on the weekends, who cares, right? If I get, like, drunk on the weekends, who cares? As long as I show up to work sober, as long as I'm able to do my job, that's what should matter. So that raises the question, what the fuck did they think was going to happen if they make this legal, right? Are you going to really force people into you know, poverty and unemployment because you don't want to hire people even though it's legal? Like again, like I want people to understand this. Let's suppose, for the sake of argument, right, you're a faggot, you're gay, you don't care about, you like dudes, or if you're a girl, you like chicks, right? No one cares about that. Can you do your job? Yes. Okay, that should all the thing that should matter. Whether you're pro LGBT, WXYZ, silent Q, and a Batman symbol shouldn't fucking matter. What you do in your spare time shouldn't matter to the company. But now, like, they're wanting to get your social media, and they're wanting to check you for, like, oh, do you have this or do you have that? There's even, and in some cases, I even looked at some of these, like, tests that are out there. They're testing for alcohol. Like, when are we gonna, like, hello, you know, Nucky Thompson called. He wants his prohibition back, apparently, so that way he can make some money. But apparently, you know, prohibition never left because I guess the private sector can enforce it, right? Right? I mean, it's insane. Keep going.
2 and 55% is a really, really good margin in today's world.
And it is.
But here's the problem for Bryce and others in the cannabis business. Even though it's now completely legal in Arizona, pot is still considered a Schedule I drug at the federal level, which means banks won't work with him.
We don't have debt facilities. You know, if you're in any other industry and say your air conditioning goes down to the tune of $200,000, you probably go take a loan out from your bank. That is not an option in our world.
And so even though they're making lots of money, it's all in cash. So, Brittany, it's 2021. We're here at the local joint doing a story on the
And by the way, it's all in cash. It should also be noted, where are they getting these cashes from? Like, you want to... No, think about this. If you can't go to the banks, who the fuck are you going to go to? You're going to go to Pauly. You're going to go to fucking, El Chapo or somebody like that, who actually was willing to give you the loan. This is how, like, you get mafia shit involved, right? Instead of letting them play above board and on the level, you're forcing these motherfuckers to go to venture cap... and I'm using this air quotes, venture capitalists, to basically fund your operation. Does anyone not see how this could backfire on people? Not to mention, this is the business side. This is like the business side of things. It's not the freaking like actual user side. The user side, they can literally just test you and say, oh, we don't want to hire you because you have drugs, you pot. Well, you know what? You don't have a right to look into my background. Like, it's one thing to look for stuff that's illegal, but if you're in the state that's legal, you don't get to test for that. That should be that's how I would see it. Okay, keep playing.
Is business good?
Yeah, business is great.
Brittany Bollier runs the local joint. One of the
she loves the local
that buys
joint.
Bryce's pot. What would be a good day for you as far as sales?
Well, I mean, now that we just opened it up, we're seeing numbers 40 to 50,000, but I anticipate it just going up. So, I mean, I would like to shoot for $75,000 days. That would make me happy.
And where does all that cash go? Right back into the store's ATMs.
But we only take cash because there's really no way to use a debit or credit card with our system. It doesn't link to anything. Yeah, cash is, it's tricky.
Back at the grow facility, it's harvest time.
A plant like this,
Pardon my ignorance.
No.
What would that be worth?
so that's probably about $400 to $500 in retail. Yeah.
And although he wouldn't talk about his numbers specifically, in America in 2021, pot is a business, and business is good. In your mind, is this the new gold rush?
Yes.
It is a new gold rush.
And if you're wondering how much Arizona expects to make, some early projections indicate as much as $1.5 to $2 billion in sales by 2024, and taxed at 16%, that's a substantial windfall for the state. And if you have a good supply of Doritos on hand, we've put a list of dispensaries now selling recreational pot on 12news.com.
Well, here's the problem with that. You can tell he wants to get his crank on, you know? He wants to be able to do that. I want to be able to do it too, to a certain degree, but here's the problem. If the private sector is discriminating against the boomer bush, right? At what point do we get to say, no, this is stupid? If the private sector gets to discriminate, where does it end, right? We already have people online saying, oh, we're going through your freaking, your finances. Like with the Mozilla CEO, right? The Mozilla CEO gave his own money and his own private time to Donald J. Trump's political campaign. A man who the media would say is a fascist. I'm not going to say he is or isn't, but I will say this. The last three presidents, probably two of them were fascists. I'll let you decide which one's which. Okay? So you have this guy who's giving money to a political candidate. They decide to fucking blacklist him and fire his ass. Where does it end, right, Luke? Because if they're allowed to fucking just legalize something, and then by extension basically threaten your fucking they could threaten your employment, right? Just because you have pot in your system, which, by the way, pot lasts in depending on how fat you are, and I'm a fat motherfucker, okay? I'm not exactly the most pretty looking motherfucker out there, but I can at least walk a mile, okay? I'm fat. It stays in my system for about 2 to 3 months. 2 months. So let's say I quit in December, January, February, March. That's when I would be allowed to be employed again. So this shit actually is affecting people's lives. And I keep thinking to myself, yeah, of course you don't want someone showing up stoned as high as a kite or drunk as a skunk. I get that. but it's pretty easy to test them on the spot, right? It should be easy to test them. You got the vaporizer test, or what the hell it's called, the breathalyzer test for like people who are drunk. They should get something like that for weed. Because here's the thing, you don't have a right to control what I do on my weekend. Weekends are made for Michelob, right? And if I decide to make an edgy post on Twitter, I shouldn't lose my fucking house. Or not my house, technically I could lose my house because I'm losing my employment, right? Where does it stop? At what point do we draw the line and say, no, you don't get to have access to my social media. You can go fuck yourself, right? See if I got this other one here. Let's see. Where is it? From marijuana. Let's see if I can find it here. Here you go, Luke. Because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Here we go. There you go. So how was your day besides, you and I spoke earlier today, Luke. What else have you done besides doing a few runs here and there, a midnight run?
Oh, not much, unfortunately. Just working.
Right. Here you go, Luke. Because there's a lot of money involved in here. But if these bastards are going to start fucking, going after people and saying, you can't have this because you have it in your system. You can't do this. You can't do that. I want to be able to have my cake and eat it too, especially if it's fucking legal. Keep in mind, recreational. It is recreational. You are allowed to do it. The cops aren't going to go after you. So why is it that the freaking private sector is allowed to go after you? Why is the private sector allowed to go after you? Well, it's a free market. Oh, okay. So where does it stop? Where does it end? Play it, Luke.
As 420, the unofficial holiday for marijuana. The code word originally started back in the 70s and is now synonymous with pot, an industry that's had a major impact on Arizona in a very short time, generating more than $1 billion since recreational use became legal.
So where do we go from here? Team Call's Mitch Carr takes a look at what...
He looks exactly like Geraldo Rivera, like an older version of Geraldo Rivera. I don't know. That's just me.
The future holds.
The Mint Dispensary in Tempe is hosting what could loosely be called a 420 block party.
It just becomes the day where everybody kind of celebrates cannabis?
I say loosely because the cannabis dispensary takes up a block in both the standing line and the drive-through line, stretched all the way around it.
Oh yeah, and something else that Arizona has is drive-through alcohol bars.
Yep. DK, welcome, by the way. My weekend was celebrating my mom's birthday, and I'm not going to Turning Points Amerifest downtown Gilbert and downtown Mesa are full of people wearing onesies. Really? I have not seen that. But then again, I've been too busy looking for work and whatnot. And apparently, like, before we continue, I wanted people to understand where I stand on this. Okay. I really want to do it, but at the same time, if it's gonna help me get employed, right, I'll stop doing it. But I guarantee you, the moment that freaking thing becomes legal, I want to be able to do it. I'm just sick and tired of the legality bullshit going on. Mark Curtis is an evil version of Geraldo Rivera. He wants your guns taken. Oh well, fuck him too. Then we better get rid of him right away. No, like legitimately, I've been going and interviewing here and there. And I've already lost one job because of the fucking drug test bullshit, right? And again, I haven't done anything wrong. I even told them, it's legal here. I haven't committed a crime. I'm not a fucking monster. I'm not Pablo Escobar. Although I do wear freaking Hawaiian shirts here and there, but that's because I'm a fat ass, okay? So one of the things I did encounter recently this week, this was on Friday, and I'm kind of pissed off because I wasted my money on this. I went to a job interview, and it was an MLM event. You know what an MLM is, Luke?
Multi-level marketing.
Yeah, fucking. It's worse than a pyramid scheme apparently because they just wanted to recruit people, and it was the fastest interview I ever had. And then one of these guys says, "Oh, I was an IT guy. I was working for, I think it was Binance." Now, if anyone knows about Binance and how all the shit that went down that whole fucking thing, right? The Stan Bankman-Fried type of crap, right? Those guys were corrupt. So my first thought is, yeah, there's something going on here. And then they're basically trying to sell me shit, right? They're trying to sell me the idea so I could become I could get a title, then I get another title, then I get a bigger title, and I join people to sell. And I eventually just said, I'm going to troll these people. I'm going to troll these people because you wasted my fucking time when I'm looking for work. And I'm actually trying to be a productive citizen. Oh, I don't even know how I'm going to pay my taxes next year. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. I'm going to pay them one way or another. Whether I have to sell blood, sell my ass, or something, right? I'll figure it out. But at that point, I just started trolling these people. And I even brought them up and said, this sounds awfully familiar. And I even said, is this an MLM? Is this a freaking, is this a pyramid scheme? No, it's not. I'm like, okay. So you basically just want me to recruit massive amounts of people to join your life insurance bullshit. And I even told them, where's the profit? They were claiming they were making profits in 2008, and 2023 is one of their biggest profit years, along with 2020. I'm like, no, it's not. You guys are full of shit. And I even looked them up. Apparently, Reddit is good for one thing. It's good for people to be able to talk to each other about stupid shit like what they were pushing. And I just stayed there for the whole fucking interview because I figured you wasted my time. I'm already out here, so I'm gonna troll you now. And let's just say I was able to get my hands on I got to Hakuna Matatatas, let's say. And the one cool thing about being a criminal is that you don't get to go to the police. So if they're doing evil shit, they can't go to the police because they can't have someone enforce the law because they're like, what are you doing here? What is your business all about? I don't know. So that's what I did for my weekend. Keep going.
For us, it's going to end up being the biggest day forever.
Business has only grown for Raul Molina and cannabis operators like him since the first licenses were issued in January of 2021.
Can I start with your name?
The Department of Revenue reported $1.9 billion in overall cannabis sales last year. According to the Marijuana Industry Trade Association, that ranks Arizona second only to California. The state has awarded 169
by the way,
licenses, which is
apparently they have marijuana infused pizza down in that
also
place.
keep in mind this video was a year ago, so they've kind of settled down a bit, so I'm not sure if the profits are still the same.
That is true. And that's another thing. It's been legal for almost 2 or 3 years now, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yet, for whatever reason, the private sector is literally creating a cast of people who can't be employed. So, I'm in tech. Tech comes from fucking Silicon Valley. There's no excuse for this shit. Okay? There's literally no excuse for you to fucking do this type of crap to me. But I guarantee you, it could be a problem. So I have to basically be on my best behavior. I have to be a good little boy so I get the cookie and the star on my, so I can become star status, so to speak. Or else I'll be on LOP, loss of privileges and shit like that. Or loss of income, rather. Or loss of profits, I guess. Keep playing.
The limit allowed by state law. The final 26 went out earlier this month. Arizona is one of 18 states where recreational marijuana is legal for those 21 and over, along with the District of Columbia and Guam. An additional 19 states and 3 territories allow for the use of medical marijuana, but haven't legalized recreational use. Molina says the next step is changes in federal law that will allow this industry to operate like any other.
I think once it goes federally legal, or at least MORAC passes, when that happens, we'll be able to do banking, we'll be able to borrow money at lower rates.
The MORE Act that Molina mentioned would decriminalize marijuana at the federal level and expunge the records of some with marijuana possession-related convictions. It's been passed by the U.S. House, but hasn't gotten a vote in the Senate. So, what is the state of cannabis in our state on this unofficial holiday? Good and trending toward great, according to Molina.
Big smile on my face, big smile on everybody's face.
Mitch Carr, 12 News. All right, Mitch,
Yeah, but how many of them are actually gonna again? How many of them are gonna be discriminated by the private sector? Because the private sector now is gonna start saying, "Hey, you can't do that. You're working with, let's say, federal devices." I'm like, "But we're in Arizona. I'm in Arizona. It's legal here. I'm not Pablo Escobar, for fuck's sake." I mean, these guys literally just sold money and they got the freaking capital by themselves. They didn't go to some private bank or something like that. They didn't go to people who Owen Benjamin would be saying, oh, you should be away from. They didn't go to the grabblers to get their money. They made it themselves. That's actually quite commendable, regardless of whether you think about marijuana or pot being legal. Right? That's quite commendable. So again, and I bring this up because if they could test you for fucking weed, right? What's to say they're gonna? Where does it stop, right? Here's one for you, Luke. This is something we're gonna be careful about this one. Here you go. It's a bit spooky. This is some spooky nope, that's not it. What the hell did I get that from? Here we go. That is not start page. We're not going to start page. We're going to the Benadryl. Now, that being said, full disclosure, I have taken Benadryl. The closest thing I've ever done with Benadryl is take it to fall asleep as a sleep aid when I didn't have access to, let's say, a melatonin. But if they're going to test you for weed, and they're going to test you, like, and let's be frank, there are people abusing fucking, like, how should we say it? They're testing to abuse, what the hell you call it? Alcohol. They're testing if you're abusing, let's say, weed. They're also going to test to see if you're abusing Benadryl, because if that shows up, does that show up? There you go. Look, play it.
All right.
And we're going to play it at, let's say,
Oh, I'm getting a warning from YouTube. The following content may contain suicide or self-harm topics.
It does. And we're going to go to 2 minutes in. 2 minutes and 8 minutes in. Because there's some spooky shit in this, by the way. Because apparently, I don't know what the fuck the Zoomers are doing with their lives. But I'll tell you this right the fuck now. What the fuck? Like, why? Who's abusing Benadryl? Who's the person who's literally trying to get high off of Benadryl? I have encountered people who are huffing fucking, like, canned air. And they were homeless, okay? So they knew what they got. We know what they were in the right, the right setting, if that makes any sense. And I told them, don't do that shit. But apparently this shit is, there are people who are abusing this. Now, does that mean that I automatically should, if I get test positive for this crap, should I be put in the same category as the people who are doing this to trip on this crap? No. I'm someone who legitimately takes it for, let's say, allergies, and in some cases, a sleep aid. Right? Where does it stop? At what point do these guys, just leave you the fuck alone? Play it.
Easily only gets more and more disturbing the further down the iceberg we go. Tier 2. Diphenhydramine. Diphenhydramine is the active ingredient, and Benadryl is obviously just the most commonly used brand. These names are often used interchangeably. Diphenhydramine is an antihistamine and a sedative, making it the perfect allergy/flu and cold medicine. But diphenhydramine is also a deliriant, which is a subclass of hallucinogen, in the same class as datura, which means it can bring lifelike hallucinations that make it impossible to distinguish reality from hallucination. Of course, the doses must be much higher than the recommended dose for the deliriant effects to kick in. Taking it to fall asleep. Because of the highly sedative effects, it has proven effective for those with insomnia. This is a very common reason as to why so many begin to dabble with Benadryl's effects. The TikTok Benadryl Challenge.
Of course there's a Benadryl challenge for TikToks. But again, where does it stop? You're already looking at, we already hear people talking about looking at people's social media accounts to see if they have racismus or sexismus or capitalismus, right? Or if they have, let's say, any of these other horrible things, right? They voted for the wrong candidate. Oh, we're going to fire you, right? Oh, you donated to a fascist party. You're evil, right? So where does it stop? If I take Benadryl because I have a bad allergies, what the fuck's going to... Who the hell are these people to force me to do that shit, right? Yeah. Keep playing it.
Doses of Benadryl became a viral...
I'm just so grateful I never wanted to get high. Like, I've never wanted to get high as a kid. Like, this is what kids are turned to.
I wouldn't say the kids are turned to it. I mean, keep in mind, this is TikTok talking about TikTok challenges. These are the same people who will throw ice buckets on themselves, which, again, admittedly, that wasn't a freaking TikTok thing. That was like a Twitter thing, right?
Yeah, I think a TikTok thing was a Kia challenge where you had to try to rob a Kia car.
That? Really?
Yeah.
That, and also there was the Tide Pod challenge, right?
That one.
Yeah, that type of stupid shit. That's what we're dealing with, right? But apparently people are tripping so bad on this crap that it's becoming a goddamn meme. Now, do you want to put me in the same category as these motherfuckers? Because, again, it's in my system, right? You can't tell when I did it. You can't tell how long I did it. There should very well be certain types of training and, like, the ability to, like, a breathalyzer. This should be built for this crap. Because let's be frank, there are people, dumb as they are, showing up to work blitzed as high as a kite and drunk as a skunk, right? Are they going to ruin it for the rest of us? Where does it stop? Anyhow,
Challenge,
here's
which mostly
here's another one
teens
to
and
prove
adults.
that. Keep playing it for the
If partaking
TikTok
in
thing.
ingesting anywhere from 15 Benadryl pills or more to trip out, this would often be coupled with playful memes about taking Benadryl to see the Hat Man. This, of course, led to many overdoses across the nation and took the media by storm when a 15-year-old girl in Oklahoma died after ingesting about 14 pills. This wouldn't be the only death, and strangely, this does continue to trend amongst young teens till this day. As recent as a couple of months ago, a 13-year-old died after suffering critical brain damage when he ingested a dozen pills. Tier 3.
Stop it.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it gets even weirder, but at what point? Because here's the thing. There are people checking your social media profile to see if you're automatically qualified. If I'm just a shit poster on Twitter and I'm like shit posting for Donald Trump, or if I'm fighting in the great meme war, right?
Anyone under the age of 16 should not have a smartphone.
I think anyone under the age of 18 should not have a smartphone. Or even 25 for that matter. Delay that shit as long as you can. It's like driving. It literally is like driving in a lot of ways. The more you delay it, the better your rates for insurance will be. Quite literally in this regard. Like you have social media. Like I have friends that are posting their kids' fucking faces on social media. They're dumb motherfuckers. All right. Here you go, Luke.
FAP dose. 4 to 8 Benadryl pills is what's known as a FAP dose. It enhances the sexual sensations, and this is where body heaviness becomes very apparent.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of those fuckers.
Let's talk for a second about losing a job before the interview even happens. It is possible, and it's happening to people now who don't even realize it, and in many cases, all because of their social media.
So tonight, Jeff Paul explains what to look for in your own internet presence to help protect you at work.
It's where we share our memories, our photos, and sometimes our opinions. But when it comes to social media, some of us might be sharing too much.
We're not only looking at the types of comments that they're making, we're also looking for spelling, grammar. It's an online resume.
Literal grammar Nazis, folks. Literal fucking grammar Nazis. Keep playing.
Rish says when a new applicant comes in, she starts with Google.
Who they are 24 hours a day is important to the company.
She then checks the obvious places: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Rish watches for unprofessional photos, curse words, racist or sexist comments, red flags she says companies want to know about before the candidates walk into the interview.
We're not fishing for bad content.
She's also checking...
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, you totally are. You totally are, bitch, aren't you?
Yeah, well, define bad, though, but they won't.
Well, they won't define bad, will they?
Media.
You see that someone posts, 3, 4, 5 times a day, you're wondering, well, shouldn't they be working?
But just the opposite is also a red flag.
If I can't find someone at all, I'm wondering,
Get in the system, slave. Get in the system.
Get in the system and pray to God that you don't say something naughty.
Mm.
Is this person who they really are?
Dallas-based Fortune 500 company Southwest Airlines hired...
Now I can kind of get the restrictions on drugs and chemicals, but this is unacceptable. Like, this is completely unacceptable.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the drugs and chemical thing, right? You don't want someone showing up to work high or drunk, right? But if it's the weekend, right? What gives you the right to try to control them on the weekend, right? And in this particular case, where it comes to what they're doing on their social media, they're doing some of this stuff that's off business hours, right?
Well, I think the operative logic being is that if you're willing to come to an interview high as a kite, then you're not sure if they should have them on the job.
Well, it's not just that you're doing it during an interview. It's also the fact that you're doing it on your spare time, right? Let's say, for instance, that you decide to go for a booze. Let's say you decide to go to a bar. Are you going to persecute me because I went to a bar? Are you going to persecute me because I said Donald Trump is the best president I've ever had in my lifetime? Are you going to persecute me because I took Benadryl for my allergies? Where does it stop? This is what I say when I'm talking about the phantom liberties and the libertarian paternalism. Where does it stop? Because apparently you can't opt out. Now they're saying, oh, if you don't have a social media presence, you're a piece of shit, and you need to be fucking punished, right? Oh, you're hiding something. What do you have to hide, right? Well, apparently I don't want to be with the NSA, so I guess that's what I have to hide, right? I don't want the NSA fucking looking at me. Keep going.
Close to 7,000 people last year, and recruiters use social media to find many of them.
Look at your social media from the lens of an employer and say, what would people think about that?
State Farm's new North Texas hub in Richardson saw 2,000 new hires in its first year and still has hundreds of empty desks to fill. The company says it uses Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to engage with potential hires before hiring events.
You should always be prepared and have a proactive approach to make sure you're keeping in mind that the job field is really competitive, and you want to make a positive first impression, whether that's in person or online.
Even if you're so...
It stays like this. I'm glad I never worked in an office.
You know, I don't know if I'm transitioning out of tech, but the money is too good, dude. I hate to be the guy who says that. Like, if I had the ability to become a miner or to become like an electrician or a plumber, I would. But I can't retrain because it's too expensive right now, right? And I've been in tech for 10 years. I built a damn good resume to the point where people are willing to contact me, right? But something's got to give. I keep saying this. Something's got to give. Because, again, I can't walk on a minefield, traverse a minefield if I don't even know what a mine is to these people. If I say Donald Trump is the best president I've ever had, is that, am I now a bad, unemployable? If I say, again, they're talking about not just, political shit. They're talking about, like, grammar and shit. Like, where does it stop? Keep going.
Social media footprint isn't so clean. It's not too late to spruce up your online profiles.
Hit delete. Delete is your friend.
Bleach your entire profile and start over.
I've done that multiple times. I've done that multiple times to avoid censorship. I've also done it multiple times specifically to avoid, this type of crap. There's no reason for them to do this. There has to be a point where I get to say the weekends are for Michelob. You don't have, and if you're gonna force me to do this on my own time, you're gonna pay me. If you want to really go full on serfdom, you're gonna pay me to basically be a moral person. I don't want to be a dick here, but there's a certain point where, yeah, I get it. You don't want someone showing up to work drunk. You don't want someone operating a machinery high. You don't want someone doing this. I get that. That's the company time. But what about the weekend? What about me going to, let's say, a bachelor party and we decide to have some Coronas? And no, not that type of Corona. Let's suppose the actual beer, right? Am I going to be fucking persecuted? Am I going to be harassed? Am I going to be homeless? There's a certain point. Keep going. Finish this up, Luke.
Dallas social media professor Janet Johnson says what you share becomes your brand.
Do you have a lot of drinking pictures on your profile? Are you cursing on Twitter? Are you complaining about companies? Are you complaining about your boss?
Johnson says if you wouldn't show a picture or recite a post to your boss, it shouldn't be out there.
One tweet.
But would we download if I could download a car, I would download a car. I want that to be understood. I would download it. If Elon gave us the ability to download, let's say the Tesla truck, I would download the Tesla truck. Keep going.
Deleting old photos and comments will help. Johnson says creating a professional presence on the web will too.
Instead of like cutie@gmail.com, have a name, janetjohnson@gmail.com.
She says changing.
No more fun for you guys. You gotta make a professional profile. You gotta have a public and private persona now, just like Hillary Clinton did.
Well, let me just say this. There is you could very well say you can't change your name, so don't put your name out there all over the place. I don't have my name out there all over the place, but I do have a private profile and I do have a public profile. I'm a man of many hats, let's say. Since we're talking about the Hat Man and the Benadryl. He's right behind you, by the way. Keep going.
Privacy settings are an option, but if you're questioning a post, it's best not to hit send in the first place.
Data doesn't die. Everyone has a camera phone now that you can easily take a screenshot of anything.
Experts say the other tip is to create a LinkedIn profile or to start making daily posts that are more professional to put some of those inappropriate posts from the past further down. Duncan Caitley?
Yeah, 3 people said.
Yeah, everyone prior to the people who grew up with the internet, here's what we have for you.
On a scale from 1 to 10, my friend, you're fucked.
Well, on a scale of 1 to 10, we're fucked. So that means we're, well, is fucked at the very top of it, or is it the very bottom of it? Like, I'd imagine, like, well, I imagine fucked is like 11, I guess. It's a 9 out of 11, let's just say. But apparently, you know, they're trying to get rid of gunslingers now in California. They're really, I'm glad I left that place, but it might have to go back because it's the only place I can find employment. Oh, god damn. I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it
everybody,
too.
welcome back.
It won't let you have your cake and eat it too, even though
To the channel,
it's legal for you to have cake and eat it too. Play it.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. On Guns and Gadgets, I bring you all the Second Amendment news, no matter where it happens. And here we are today bringing you something that just happened in California that needs everybody's attention. Before I jump into it, I want to thank the sponsor of the video, and that's Blackout Coffee. I want to thank a special guest, a friend of mine. You've seen him here before, Sam Paredes, who is the big boss man over at Gun Owners of California. Sam, thank you for taking a couple of minutes out of your extremely busy day to tell our folks what's going on.
Hey, Jared, it's always a pleasure to be with you, and our prayers are for what you do and how you do it. It's a huge blessing to us, so thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about what's going on. Last Friday night, the Department of Justice in California sent out a proposed set of emergency regulations that would govern who can be qualified to be a concealed carry weapons permit instructor. And once I read it, I realized, okay, so they can't put a damper on how many people want CCWs. So how best to limit CCWs? You limit the number of CCW instructors that are out there able to teach the course. These regulations
they're gonna kill off the Jedi Masters, so that way there could be no more Jedis. So the young Luke Skywalker can no longer become a Jedi Knight because they're gonna kill all the Jedis. It's sick. This is evil shit. These people will never stop. I mean, you have to ask yourself the question. It's one thing for you to be like a bit skeptical, like, oh, you know, I don't want to have so much guns, and like, oh, it'll escalate to the situation constantly, right? How many of these people are utopians who think they can just put the genie back in the bottle by basically just, you know, hear no evil, speak no evil, say no evil, talk no evil, what have you? How many of them are? Because, you know, now they're trying to fucking make it so that the people who trained me are gonna have to be permitted and licensed fucking trainees. This stuff is wrong. It's wrong. And the fuck am I supposed to do about it, right? Besides fight this crap. But besides that, let's see what else we got for the comments. DK says, that's what happened to me in my MySpace forums. Luckily, MySpace crashed and the forums were deleted completely, so my Google searches don't include that. Well, wait till they figure out archive.org, and then we will be, well, Luke, play it. We'll truly be fucked, won't we?
There's a good clip for that.
You are, as they say in Japanese, fucked from the head down to the knees.
That's what will happen once the HR whores start realizing, yeah, you know what, we're going to start using, everything will be encoded. Because here's the thing, I could very well lie about taking a screen cap. I have Donald Trump singing The Real Slim Shady, goddammit, okay? I legitimately have the ability to fake that crap. But you can't fake archive.org, and that's one of the reasons why people like it so much, is because if, you know, somebody at the Daily Wire says something anti-Semitic, right? Or so let's say anti-Goyim, let's say, you can catch them, and there's actual proof behind it. It's held by the third party, which is the archive.org or Archive Today or Archive PH, whatever the fuck it might be.
And that's perfect for this.
People fucked, but people will forget as time goes by.
No, they won't forget as time goes by. The internet is forever. And the internet never forgets.
Unfortunately.
And, you know, I'm glad I left that place, too. Because not only are they trying to kill off the Jedis, to teach more Jedis, right? Because they actually are putting out the Order 66 on people. Now they're actually trying to like find a way to actually build encampments, and find a place to revitalize sanctioned encampments.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, in San Jose.
What is a sanctioned encampment?
Play the clip and we'll figure it out.
What is this? What is this?
A safe place to sleep. The plan for designated sleeping sites for the homeless is getting another look tonight. Instead
Finally.
of encampments.
Yeah, after Xi Jinping came to visit.
that and here's the problem with that. It's just one step away from designated shitting streets. I'm looking at you, San Francisco. Wait till they start shitting all over the Embarcadero.
City Hall in San Jose now saying they may be the right time to have designated locations with a community feel instead. NBC Bay Area's Robert Honda explains what makes this old idea new again.
The homeless encampment here in Roosevelt Park in San Jose has long been considered by advocates as an unofficial safe sleeping site because of its fairly tight-knit community and access to services here, but setting up an official safe sleeping site is not as easy. Many of the tents lining Coyote Creek in San Jose's Roosevelt Park have been here for years. San Jose, under former Mayor Sam Liccardo, once considered creating sanctioned encampments, but settled on just helping the inhabitants.
Sam the Commie Liccardo. I legitimately saw him back in 2020 bend the knee to the activists of BLM. I could remember going into one of the shops that I had basically helped set up. I didn't own it. I just, volunteered. It was like a comic book store. They had like video games and stuff like that. It's called Game Shop, not GameStop, by the way. It's on Santa Clara Street back in I think it was Santa Clara and 3rd, I believe, or Santa Clara and 3rd, downtown San Jose. I remember I went in there when the BLM protesters were screaming and yelling and protesting. I said, okay, guys, heads up. I know this is going to be weird to understand, but they're all communists. And Sam Liccardo bent the knee to them and showed solidarity with the fucking socialist pigs. So that's the type of person who's okaying this and green lighting this crap. So now they're going to have hobos all over the fucking place. Welcome to Night City. Be playing.
Oh, I just saw in the tab for CBS Evening News, Trump criticized over immigration rhetoric. Like, what? Wait, was this was this 6 years ago? It's 3 hours ago. This was 3 hours ago. Like, they have nothing else but to repeat 2016.
Well, in fairness, Luke, the MAGA crowd can only repeat 2016. I'm just saying. I mean, they want Styx is talking about freaking repeating this 2016 energy, right? Grow the fuck up. That I was 26 at the fucking time, or 25 or so, right? So, grow up, grow the fuck up, and get on with their life. The world has changed, sadly. Keep going.
Porta potties and trash bins. Now, current mayor Matt Mahan wants to bring that concept back, mainly.
Matt Mahan, what a name.
Turn on the freaking. Is that really his name?
Mahan. Okay.
I mean, let's be frank. If he was Matt Mayhem, he would be fucking pro Second Amendment all the way. He'd be totally libertarian, almost libertarian almost, if he was Matt Mayhem.
After seeing San Diego set up these two sanctioned encampments.
In fact, we had a member of our city staff go down and actually research what they're doing and take a first-hand look. You're right, they just stood up a site with 400 tents. It looks beautiful. There are nice, neat rows. There's basic on-site security. And
assuming that they're not going to rob each other.
That looks definitely similar to a FEMA camp.
Yeah.
No, like, here's an idea. How about you just get these people off the streets? And the ones that are legitimately like, I don't want to be on the streets. I'm a vagabond. I'm a free man on the land. You punish those people.
Okay, don't live on the streets
outlaws.
then.
No, they can't live on the streets. Like the best.
No, because you're public charge. Go live on the land and not in the streets.
Well, there is no land anymore, dude. That's like sovereign citizen shit. That's like saying I'm traveling, which again, there is an argument to actually in the sovereign citizen argument to travel from like coast to coast. Like let's say I walk from from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic coast, let's say, and as long as I don't step on private property, as long as I can walk, let's say from Route 66 and get my kicks off Route 66, just walking, I should be allowed to do that. In theory, right? As long as it's not private property, as long as I'm not disrupting traffic, in theory, I should be able to get around that. But if, let's say, the moment I pick up a vehicle, whether it's a bicycle, whether it's a motorized vehicle, whether it's a fucking car, that's when like there are certain rules that can come into play, right? I don't know. Keep going.
$6,000 for every single homeless person on the streets of New York right now. On top of that, New York City has over 350,000 vacant units. Units no one lives in. Maybe they need a little bit of a touch-up, but 350,000 units just waiting to be occupied. 350,000 vacant units, 100,000 homeless, $26,000 per homeless person. Wait, 350,000 vacant units, 100,000 homeless people. Wait, what if we just... Oh, I know. Why don't we just... Whoa. Not so fast there, Mother Teresa.
Not so fast. What's his reason? What's his reasoning behind it?
Let's not jump to any hasty conclusions now, shall we? Think about it. If we just solve the homelessness problem just like that, there would be no need for a $2.4 billion slush fund, which means we would stop getting $10 million contracts, $350 million contracts. We would have to stop paying ourselves $1 million salaries.
Oh, that's the reason. So it's the homeless industrial complex, and apparently that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Look at that shit.
How much do you think this cost? These little tents cost?
They probably provide. Ironically, they actually are probably provided by FEMA or some sort of like government organization. They look way too needy.
So you did pay for it indirectly while you've been living here.
I hate socialism. I hate the government.
It's an alternative to the unsafe, unsanitary, unmanaged encampments we have on the streets.
Some South Bay homeless advocates say they've supported the idea for many years, as long as it isn't seen as a permanent solution.
I think it's important that the mayor is pushing that harder than anybody else has, and I know he's got a big plan to get people out of these encampments, which is good, but we're worried about people getting stuck kind of in the system and not going into permanent housing. But as a short-term interim plan, especially in the cold winter nights, desperately needed.
Some unhoused people at Roosevelt Park told us they believe many tent dwellers would agree.
I think it's a great idea. We'll make little communities anywhere. We have little communities everywhere. I bounce around all of them. So I think that's a great idea.
One of the biggest challenges is finding sites. We'll need to do an inventory of potential sites. We'll need to get.
Oh, this guy's a cuck. Look at his eyes. Look at that jawline. Jesus Christ, this guy. You know this guy takes it in the ass. You know this guy's a pita popper.
Treat this like the crisis that it is, we will move forward a pilot next year. It's really just a matter of political will.
Despite those hopes, the time to find appropriate sites and the cost means safe sleeping sites is still a long-term project. The mayor plans to propose it in his budget message in March, which he says means actual construction will be months after that. In San Jose, Robert Honda, NBC Bay Area News.
Fuck.
There's one. Oh, here it is. Here's a good.
It's pathetic. In this room with something.
Fuck. What the hell is this?
I think it's some kind of airborne truth-telling serum.
Oh, you just guessed that's what it is?
Well, just ask me something specific I wouldn't normally tell you.
Okay, does Millie ever peg you?
Sometimes. Wait,
He looks like somebody who worked on Hell of a Boss. Speaking of Hell of a Boss. Speaking of the bird, the rest of the shit. We're going to do an update real quick. So, apparently the Satanic Fallout crap was going on, right? So...
Fallout? Oh, right. The Satanic statue being beheaded.
By a Marine known as Michael. I will repeat that. A guy named Michael beheaded the statue of Lucifer.
And like a decent citizen, he turned himself in.
Which is the correct response, but here's the problem. These dumb motherfuckers, these dumb-ass motherfuckers, what do? What do they say? Well, apparently Le Chef from the fucking Casino Royale, everyone's favorite Bond villain, right? He's saying hate crime. It's a hate crime. And I'm thinking to myself, you dumb asshole.
You guys worship Satan, for crying out loud. You're complaining about hate crimes? Oh, you hypocrites.
No. These are the same people who will say if I punch a gay guy, it's not assault or battery, right? It's a hate crime now. Like if I punch, like I'm serious about this. Like if you kill a tranny, it's murder, okay? We don't need to add, it's a hate crime as a modifier. Murder is murder. The dead are dead, okay?
What's this?
And I even say to him, I say to him, vandalism, this would be the equivalent of me claiming setting a Wiccan on fire is considered a fucking hate crime. No, it's just arson perhaps, but it's not murder, maybe even attempted murder for that matter, assault, deadly weapon perhaps.
I mean, does a hate crime actually need an act of physical violence, like assault?
Well, apparently it does, because there have been instances where, let's see if I can find it here, where there have been like Jewish, like pro-Israelis who've taken down, who've literally like took a knife to a pro-Palestine, Free Palestine banner. They consider that a hate crime. It means nothing anymore. Like it used to be like oh, those good old boys, and they're gonna hunt down those liberal couple, and they're gonna like kill the interracial couple, right? Because like it's the 1960s or something. No, they're not gonna do that anymore. No, like it's just murder. Just get over it. We don't need this modification shit. And what's even worse about it is how people respond to it.
What's the? Oh, is this the satanic ritual table? What is this I'm looking at?
That used to be the altar, and apparently they smashed the altar. And this is what I imagine. This is what I was imagining was going through Michael's mind before he decided to be like his namesake. I don't like the sculpture, Charlie. Its smug aura mocks me. That's. I mean, it's open season for these heretics. It really is open season. And just to prove a point, here you go. This is another reason why I've said before, and I even said this to Sticky Man, the little bird man himself. I said, so apparently, the context here for those who are asking, I say, you're not a church. You're literally a tax haven for atheists and objectivists.
Yeah.
And guess what? They say we are if we say we are collectively. And I'm like, oh boy, the people who are all about individuality are talking about collectively. This is wonderful. If you have a tax-exempt status while worshiping a deity without evidence, so can they. I'm like, some people don't even, like, you don't worship a deity. You don't worship the devil. You literally worship yourself, you fucking ass.
Well, they're their own god, so I guess it can be count, I guess.
Well, where I should probably change the name to this fucking stream to Where the Hell Does It Stop? Or It's Time to Stop. Because it really truly is time to stop.
Aura mocks me.
It does mock you. Because the thing that I'm scared of, and this is where, Wolfman Prepper and I probably would get along a lot more, is James Lindsay, our good friend. I don't think Satanism is a religion, but I do think Marxism is a religion. I'm like, oh, wow, okay.
Well, he did call that like 2 years ago, saying that if we can show that Marxism is a religion, it would have no place in our schools.
Yeah, but but at the same time, you trade that off for if I try to radicalize, if I try to preach the gospel according to Marx and Engels, right? Then at work, you now can't ban me because it's a hate crime. Right? You ban me. It'd be no different me saying I'm banning you because you're a Jehovah's Witness. Do you really want to put that power in the hands of these people? Do you really want? And he goes on to clarify. He says, technically, Marxism is a cult. Religion is preceded on faith. Is predicated on faith, whereas cults are predicated upon belief in secret, hidden knowledge. They're not the same, but the language of the first A isn't sophisticated enough to deal with this. And I'm thinking to myself, this is why we need to have a constitutional convention, because you could very well argue, and this is something the Catholics have said, there are secrets of the Rosary. There are secrets, and they are they're not really they are predicated by faith, but they're predicated off of faith based on other things. So, like Islam, is it considered a faith now?
Well, yeah, it's always been.
I consider it a cult by his own definition.
Well, I mean, the thing that gets Islam under the radar is that people think that they hear religion, they think Christians going to church on Sunday when it has a whole encompassing political system attached to it.
I've been when I was fighting these Satanists online, because Lord knows I would never turn down a chance to smack the devil in the fucking face with my fucking dick, right? They legitimately have said we're not objectivists, and they said no, we're not objectivists. That's a misquote. And to prove that point, here you go, Luke. Let's see if I can find it here. Again, I learned more. A lot of shit happens a lot here and there. This is from the name itself for this channel tells you everything you need to know and where it comes from.
Wait, what is the name here?
Satan's splain.
Oh, wow.
Spiritual leftism, not even once, ladies and gentlemen.
Some claim that Satanism, the philosophy of Anton LaVey, is just the philosophy of Ayn Rand with the addition of ritual. People who make this claim have seemingly never read a full book from either author. The differences between Satanism and Ayn Rand's objectivism today on Satan's Plane.
Well, it's not Satan worship, it's Satanism. It's embracing the life-enriching things which have traditionally been given the devil's name. Pride, lust, earthly success, rational self-interest, atheism, humor, nonconformity, science, a passion for living, being selective about whom we love. We don't see these as shameful sins, but empowering ideals. And we also recognize the psychological power and fun of symbolism and aesthetics, so...
Well, someone should have told Ayn Rand that selfishness and self-interest are not the same thing.
That, and also the fact that, like, that's literally an ideology. It's not a religion. And if it was, like again, I have to stress this. I don't want these guys gone. I just don't want them to be able to say, well, we're a religion too. No, you're not. You're an ideology. You're like atheism. And even then, atheism, depending on what level we're talking about, if we're talking about the individual level, it's an individual belief, and it is protected.
Well, I mean, if they can have their taxism status, but they'll never be allowed in schools. That would be a good step.
Yeah, that is exactly. They should not be allowed in schools, because why should ideology be allowed in schools? I mean, you could teach Marxism or you could preach Marxism. Which do you think these fuckers are doing? So keep playing it.
We utilize Satan as mythology's most fitting mascot for what we're about.
Now, some of you may be thinking, Bill, that's going to be a lot of information, and I don't have the patience to hear this whole episode. You know, I have, like, ADHD. Can you give me a soundbite answer? Okay, Satanism is philosophically not the same thing as objectivism. Anton LaVey did not say that Satanism is nothing more than Rand's objectivism plus ritual. They're similar, insofar as they both take a skeptical worldview and also place the individual over the collective. But
where's the lie?
That's about it. If you want to see how greatly they differ, just look at Satanic Statements numbers 7 and 8. I suppose I could just end the episode here, but...
Chapter and verse. He quotes chapter and verse to us.
He does, and he does quote chapter and verse. If we want to go down to, I want to say, let's see, 19 minutes and 47 seconds. 1947, good year, I'd say.
Especially given the here with Satan's Plane. Before the break, we talked about a quotation that gets passed around a lot online, where LaVey is reported to have said that this thing he put together called Satanism is just Ayn Rand plus ritual. I've seen some idiots use this unsourced internet quote as an example of what the Church of Satan believes politically. I've already explained why that's completely wrong. Never mind the fact that objectivism doesn't just have political positions, it has a philosophy too, and it seems obvious to me that this is what the quote is referring to. Now, did LaVey claim this about Satanism? The short answer is no, at least not quite. So where does this quote come from? Well, I've talked to various Church of Satan members, and as far as we can tell, it's a corruption of a quote from a witchcraft article from the Washington Post, written all the way back in 1970. Talk about a desperate dig into the past, but I digress. The article is about the general rise in interest at that time of witchcraft and the occult, so they interview notable witchcraft authors of that time, like Ray Buckland and Sybil Leek. They also interview Anton LaVey. I'm going to read you 2 paragraphs from that article, which will give you the full context of the quote. With a showman's instinct, he played the devil in Rosemary's Baby. Anton LaVey had painted the interior of his church hellish red and black, conducts his services by the light of black candles, and uses a naked female Satanist as a quote-unquote living altar. Quote, the go-go girls we originally asked became too scared, unquote, he explains. Basically, however, the satanic high priest believes he is ritualizing a philosophy. Quote, I give them Ayn Rand with trappings, unquote, he says. Satanism is a form of controlled self-interest, declares the Satanic Bible. It is in the nature of man to be a
the question. What's going to happen when the communists start claiming May Day off as a religious holiday? Because if he's going to be able to set, this is the first time I've heard this quote being going against the grain. I've always heard atheism plus objectivism, right? Right? That's what they keep telling me, and now they're saying that it's not true, right? So if it's not true, then they would be considered a religion, right? But if they're just taking from, let's say, Ayn Rand, and they're just, getting a bunch of sources, putting it together, and say, waha, a new religion. What's to say that they take a bunch of shit and then they just use it as the garbs of religion to get religious exemption status, right? Like, that's really what I'm scared of here, is that we're seeing, like, modern ideologies like Marxism, feminism, and whatnot, even Nazism for that matter, running around in the garbs of religion, and now you can't persecute against them because, they're a religion now. There has to be a certain point where we get the Supreme Court to say there's a difference between religion and ideology. There has to, and I'm not saying you persecute against religion. I'm saying there are people who say, I want to kill someone as my religion. How are you going to stop them? How are you going to stop them, right? How are you going to stop Chris Chan from basically getting away with fucking murder because he thinks the dimensional merge and all this insane shit? There has to be a certain point where we say, no, you're just trying to get away with murder. You're just trying to, push your ideology. You're just trying to, push Marxist feminism, and you're using whatever garb you can get, whether it's liberation theology, Dianic Wicca, or whatever it might be. This needs to be called on. And sadly, I think this would be the thing that would that would end the culture war. It would be the equivalent of dropping a nuke on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, culturally speaking. Because you could reason with some of these people right? But you can't reason with people who are so like, oh, I worship the devil. Well, they don't even worship the devil. They worship themselves. They're Ayn Randian and objectivist. That's what I was told. But that's bullshit now, isn't it? Keep playing it.
Seeker, and no guilt should be felt on this account. Fortified by LaVey's incantations for conjuring up lust, destruction, or compassion as a need arises, his disciples go forth into the world to win their heart's desire. And that is the end of the 2 paragraphs that I selected from the article. So that is the full context of the quote. The article goes on from there to describe the activities...
Here it is, yeah.
They spend the whole first chapter saying why it's too hard to define religion adequately in this book. This is standard level graduate textbook, or standard graduate level textbook in religion. Theology is kind of the same. But fortunately, we can start with the idea, that a really easy idea, that theology is kind of the set of ideas or system of thought behind a religion. So if we understand what a religion is, then we can have a pretty good guess at what a theology is. It's sort of the philosophical system that makes a religion work, and how it thinks about the world, and how it approaches the world and what's happening in it. So that kind of is going to bring it down to earth for us a bit. And fortunately for us, we're going to do the hard one next. Buckle up, big words are coming. But the Supreme Court has had to toss this around again and again and again and again for a number of decades, because people try to make First Amendment claims. This is religious, this isn't religious, it should be in schools, it shouldn't be in schools, it should apply to the military for conscientious objectors, it shouldn't. Who gets to qualify, who doesn't? Lots of cases. Is secular humanism a religion? The Supreme Court ruled that it is. Is communism a religion? The Supreme Court ruled that it's not. A few times. So they actually have a functional definition.
Yeah. And that right there is the reason why I keep saying this is gonna come and bite us. I do believe the culture war is no longer gonna get hot, but we're gonna get into the religious angle, and I'm gonna have to decide where I stand on this issue. Because say what you will about Protestants, the Catholics are still talking about how they're already at the point where they're thinking about saying, okay, America is dead. We're gonna pack up and go away. It was great while it lasted, guys. And I'm like, no, I'm staying with America. God be with me, but I can't leave. And if I have to betray the Vatican, so be it. Because this is ridiculous. And the same reason why, Bill the Butcher and the rest of these fucking, Know Nothing Party, the people who are against a bunch of Catholic Irishmen coming in and changing the makeup of the culture, they were frightened not necessarily of the Catholics, but they were scared of what the Catholics believed, how they would always phone home back to the Vatican and say what the Vatican had to say. Here, the foreign influence that exists, let's say let's say a bunch of communists decide to make a religious front. And I use the term front as an example because that's what that is. At this point, this shit becomes a front, where they could just say, okay, we're religious, give us tax exempt status. Now give us a bunch of money so we can push our ideology. That's the real ideology. That's the occult ideology, no pun intended. And that's what we're dealing with now. What was that from James Lindsay? I assume that was James Lindsay, right?
The dialectical faith of leftism. This was way back in 2022.
Well, apparently, and for those you want to know more about this, let's see if I can find it here. If I can actually pull up James Lindsay's quote here. This is what he says now. Technically, Marxism is a cult. Religions are predicated on faith, whereas cults are predicated upon belief in certain secret knowledge. Yeah, and I think there needs to be a constitutional convention. I really do believe that. And I don't want... Again, the government is already deciding what is religion and what isn't a religion. And there are people out there who are, whether they be Reddit edgelord atheists trying to push this shit, or whether it be actual subversive actors trying to basically hide their dirty deeds done with sheep in the garbs of faith. This shit needs to be called out, and I think we're going to see it within our lifetime, because I don't believe Islam is the religion, simply because Islam is not just a series of articles of faith. It also has a system of jurisprudence. It has a taxes it levies against people who are not part of the religion. It has penalties for death. It has like certain things that are said and whatnot, right? These are legitimate issues. Is Islam a religion now? Yes. Or should it be considered an ideology? If it's considered an ideology, guess what? We can now go after these bastards. Like we will with the communists or the fascists, right? Now do you see what I'm getting at, Luke? Why I keep telling Lindsay to stop fucking calling it a goddamn religion? Because eventually you're going to have... everyone will be religious. And then therefore there's no benefit because the government will just be hands-off all the time.
And it won't be in public schools, though. That's the point.
Will it really? Because there are people out there who want to be able to, who have religious convictions, right, in public schools. Whether it be, I don't want to, do sex ed because I want to be taught by my parents, or whether I don't want to participate in certain other things because of my religion. This stuff will be used to subvert public schools.
It already is. I mean, I don't know why that's the secret. Well,
I guess the question then becomes, what's going to happen when we try to subvert it back? The difference here is we already acknowledge that we are a Christian. We're a Christian faith, right? Are we going to be Christianity minus theologies? That way we could still push our ideology in public schools and get away with it.
Because they know it's not beneficial to them because they've had every opportunity to make Marxism or communism a religion. They haven't because it's not beneficial to them.
And what happens when it becomes beneficial?
But it won't, because they've already decided that it doesn't.
I think there will be a few people, and then what will happen is, just like with critical theory, you will have instances where it looks like they're all different variants of different ideologies, but they all come from critical theory. So Marxist feminism can attack the culture based on sex and whatnot, and then you can have gender studies and racial studies attack the culture from different angles. It's like what Bill Whittle said. They have different points of attack. This is what will happen. I guarantee you of that. Now, okay. Beckloff was talking about how we don't want government to decide. It's already deciding the religion, dude. I hate to be the guy that tells you this. It's already attacking. The government is already deciding who gets to have the religious freedom and who doesn't. Or protection of religious freedom for that, or quote unquote religious freedom. So, there's that. And I bring this up because if it is true that Satanism is not a secular religion or a secular ideology, then Sticky Man over here has a lot to fucking learn, right? There you go. Because he repeats the same fucking quote.
Alright everyone, it's time for the occult, video number 295, why I was a Satanist and why I left Satanism. This is an important topic. It's one that I have loosely covered before. In part, I've talked about sort of my religious meanderings over time, from liberal Christian to more religious Christian, to outright atheism, atheistic Satanism, and now into the occult, the pagan. I would say an academic study of everything spiritual and an appreciation for all those spiritual paths. And now I no longer see it as I'm trying to achieve a final destination. Like, hey, I want to find the right religion before I die. I don't give a shit about that. Now it's literally just about the journey and about promulgating all spirituality because I find it to be, number one, interesting, number two, rewarding, and number three, potentially useful. Now, here's why I was a Satanist. When I was younger, I was a liberal Christian. I was raised in a marginally Christian household, the sort where you have a Bible in the house, sometimes it's not gathering dust, you pray at night, you say amen and shit like that, and God bless you when you sneeze, and you consider yourself a Christian. You say, yeah, of course, Jesus is my homeboy, but you only go to church 2 or 3 times a year, basically. That was the kind of Christian I was for most of my early life, like the first half of my life. For a few years after that, we were more religious, and this is partially because my mother decided to tag me along with her religious journey. I did genuinely garner more Christian religious beliefs during that period, but I wasn't as literally into it. So, going to church weekly, reading the Bible more, even watching some religious services on TV, which they're all a bunch of prosperity gospel bullshit swindler bitches. But, you're inculcating, Christianity after a certain bizarre and perverted fashion. But anyway, I left this behind around the time I got to college. Now, some people have insinuated that I love it when people try to put words in my mouth, thoughts in my head, or actions and deeds into my life, because they're inevitably wrong and don't know what the fuck they're talking about. There are some people that have insinuated that it's, Sticks went to college and Marxist professors told him Jesus wasn't real, and to get a better grade, he slowly inculcated this belief. That's not what happened. I did it on my own. Partially, it was partially I lost, and I used to laugh at the Christians on ICQ chat about this. Partially, it was seeing, once I got into the real world, the deeds of Christians, once I was exposed to the World Wide Web. That is, I went into religious chat rooms, and I saw the disgrace with which some of these people that are supposedly so holy acted, and it didn't really comport to my view of what a Christian is meant to be, and I'm like, half of you people don't even follow your own fucking commandments. Why the fuck should I be part of this? I became an atheist. And it had nothing to do with, kind of, if anything, the spiritual side grew more, even during the atheistic period, because I was taking religion courses, because I found them fun. Atheism and, Christianity and paganism. I took a basic course on Christian theology of some sort. I can't remember exactly the name of it. I took a course on Islam, and by the way, I got swindled by UVM, because when I took it was a basic level course and an introductory level, 001, something like that. The next year, after I'd already taken the fucking course, they bumped into an intermediate. So I could have gotten the intermediate credit, but I got basic beginner's credit for the course. Come on, dude. Now I have to...
So, honestly, I think I really do believe if it is true that it's not objectivism, it's atheism, but it's not objectivism, right? Then I do think that frickin' Styx is like one or 2 points away from becoming a Tumblr. I mean, we already see that he's worshiping the bird from Hell of a Boss, or hanging out with the bird from Hell of a Boss, which is cringe as fuck, okay? And he talks about, oh yeah, it is atheism plus show. He regurgitates the same thing. So who's right? Who's wrong? Well, LeVay's dead, right? He which, by the way, he gave his heart to Jesus at the end of it all. After he made a bunch of money and fucking broke a lot of hearts and destroyed a lot of people's lives. But what of it, right? It's sad, Luke. It really is. I don't want to be the guy who fucking controls what religion is and isn't, but at the same time, we have to define what it is a religion, because, like I said, there are people who are abusing this privilege, whether it be for a political end or whether for personal self-interest. There needs to be a pushback. I don't know. Anyhow, Luke, we're going to continue with something else here. So more over to the whole... Let's see if we can find it here. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, Polygon. I want to call in. Polygon Rogue. How do I call in? Polygon. We'll talk. Let's see. Do you have Discord? If you come to Discord, if you come to my Discord, let's see if I can get it for you. I will take calls, because Beckloff did calls and he's pushing me closer and closer to, becoming a better person. There you go. There you go, Polygon. I will let you in because you asked. Man, this guy really sucks, lol. Which guy? Me or somebody else, Alpha? I want to know who sucks. If I suck, let's hope it's not hard. I don't know. There you go. Just join in, Polygon. How do I chat with you? Here you go. Join in, and if you want, there's the showroom and call in. It's the showroom. You could join in, and I will let you in. Got it? Let's let you in. Just let me know what your name is, and I'll let you in. Okay? I want to let you in. Let's see, I do have Discord. Yeah, I'll let you in, Polygon. I want to know, what are you going to talk about? That's what I want to know. Because again, let's see. Alpha 100 says one thing that that is really homosexual is when you say, "Oh, it's not what a Christian is supposed to act like." Oh, also that it was also that guy, not you.
So Styx then.
So Styx. Yeah, well, here's the thing that Styx would if you studied it, he'd know what antinomianism is, and he'd know that antinomianism has basically infected the culture. It has infected the Christian religion. And what antinomianism is, the idea that you can get away with sin and not have to change. So if I beat my wife to death, or not beat my wife to death, I beat her up, let's say in a drunken rage or a stupor, and I forgive myself, right? Or I don't forgive myself. I ask God for forgiveness. He'll forgive you, but you have to turn away from your sins. You have to work towards actually improving yourself and being worthy of being forgiven. Let's say Alpha says, like they totally know how Christians are supposed to act. Cough. Jesus ironically wiped the Hebes and the flipped tables. Yeah, he flipped tables and chairs. He did. He went full on freaking WWF on this motherfucker. And just like the WWF, he actually went after the freaking business owners of WWF. I'll just say that right now. I'll let you decide what that is. So if Polygon wants to come on, let me know where you're at. You'll have to message me on Discord, and I will get you in as soon as possible. Just let me know, and I'll let you in. But I'm going to move on to something a bit else for a second. So, update, Luke, on the whole scenario with that frickin' Holly and Hunter Avalon thing. So apparently, she knew this guy for 11 plus years, and this is what he looked like.
Oh boy.
Yeah. A neckbeard. A fucking neckbeard, Luke.
Huh.
Yep.
What's this?
This is what we're dealing with here. We are dealing with someone. That is the shooter.
Oh, that's the. Wait, this guy?
Yeah, that guy. Apparently, that's her. That's him.
Wow.
Conrad is a neckbeard. She says, "I want Conrad to be remembered as someone who wasn't a monster, but someone who is mentally unwell. I forgive him for what he did, and I hope I could use this situation to help raise awareness not only for DV survivors, domestic violence survivors, but anyone struggling with mental illness." I find it hilarious that this guy basically busts down the door and hunts down Hunter Avalon, and she's basically giving this guy more and more points.
Wow.
It makes you really wonder to yourself, run, Hunter, run. That's what we're dealing with. All right.
11 years. Jeez.
Yep. And and there's more data out there. And of course he starts doing this edgy McEdgerson shit. Like, here we go, Valerie. Actually, can you I don't know if you can do the OCR for this, but can you get your AI thing to read this for like in a darker tone, like an edgy emo tone? Right here.
What read what?
This particular post she has. Valerie.
I want Conrad. Where? Who? How? What?
This one right here. I sent it to you right there.
Let's see.
When you look at the replies to this tragedy, just remember a normal person wouldn't go out of their way to bring someone down. These people are hurt, just like Conrad was. All we could do is remember that it isn't about us. This is a note he left for my mom. So he left. So this guy who she knew all the way back in high school, by the way. So this is somebody who they probably grew up. They were like childhood sweethearts and shit. So that kind of adds more to the point, doesn't it? That why he would hunt down Hunter Avalon.
This. Just gotta find, because it's a screen. It's not a text, so I have to be clever about how I acquire the text.
I could get it for you right now. Give me 1 second.
Here we go. Chat, paste here.
Put in like some like. Here you go. There you go. That's
there
what it
we
is.
go. Let's see.
And you just put it into, like, do like some sort of I don't know, if you could get Inuyasha to say it, that'd be awesome.
I don't think Inuyasha has a voice in this system.
Oh, damn it.
Let's see. How about with Michael?
Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do.
Let's see. What would be a good voice? Oh, Santa Claus.
Courage is not the absence of fear, but simply moving on with dignity despite that fear.
That's him. That's him. That's the one we're going to use.
There we go. Let's see if this works.
I'm trying to figure this out. She says, let's take your time, dude. We'll be around. Let's see if it could. The woman is so heartless. She did it for the money. I hope she didn't do it for the money. I hope not. Facts. But we have to kiss ass for every degenerate and act like Christian. Yeah. Fuck these people. There has to be a pushback against this shit. Look at this. Look at this shit, dude.
Valerie, I am that demon that you always try to look past. Even calling yourself mom to me a few days ago. I'll never understand the forgiveness and love that you and Holy have. You both deserve the world and have only been men who destroy instead of build. You raised a beautiful woman who was cursed by me. I can't express how wonderful she is. It has actually driven me to madness without her. Though this is because I am a weak person. I'm not strong enough to fight against what is wrong with me. My mind won't stop. It tormented me with mistrust for such a long time. I've always been confused by your forgiveness, as I have never thought I deserve it. All of it didn't make sense. What was I to deserve such unconditional love? I yelled and hit things, causing arguments over my paranoia. I deeply regretted it each and every time. Yet, like clockwork, I would just regress and lose control. Please get healthy. Hate me.
Oof.
Yeah. So this guy is not exactly entirely there. Is this for Fruitsian 88? Is that you, Polygon? If that is you, let me know. You're in the movie room area. I was gonna try to add you in on the showroom. The showroom call-in area. There's a call room in my Discord. There's live stream and there's the showroom floor.
I see him.
You see him?
Movie room. I see him in the movie room.
Yeah, I see him in the movie room as well. I'm just trying to figure out if that's him or not, because I don't want to add someone who isn't necessarily there. Just let me know if that's you, Polygon. I'm trying to get. I usually don't do callers, so to speak. And yeah, I do think that we need to push back against a lot of this edgelord atheism. That's you? Okay, we're adding you in then. All right. I'm gonna kick you. We're gonna give you. We'll give you access to your member now, and we'll get you in here. I will invite you in. Invite people. Give it to you. Where is it? Let me give it to you real quick. I'll invite you. Create invite link. It's 7 days. There you go. There you go. You can join in and be on your be on your best behavior. Just don't be don't do stuff that you know that would get me kicked. All right. Because I actually want to fight these Satanists. I think it's time we go after them. The difference here is I'm not fighting for God or country. I'm fighting for principles. Because I legitimately think there is an argument to be had that there needs to be a separation or a distinguishment, rather, between ideology and state. Or not ideology and state, but ideology and the freedom of religion. Because I think the Satanists should be allowed to be freedom of speech advocates, freedom of thought advocates, and all that. But they don't get to have tax write-offs, so to speak. They don't get to say, oh, I get to worship my ego and I get to have tax write-offs. LaVey himself, he actually paid his taxes accordingly. I have respect for him in that regard. It's when we start having these idiots who are trying to push a political agenda. I mean, they're talking about we collectively decide. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's insane. He's gonna drop the N-bomb and immediately leave. If he does that, balls for it, but you're not gonna you won't be on again. I guarantee you that. So you're gonna be in.
So is he in or not?
He is not in. I've sent it to you via private DMs, by the way. She'll let you know that. There we go. You're a member, and I send it to you. Can just join in. See if I can give me the permissions. Who else can get in? There we go. So now you're allowed in. You're in. I'm sorry, guys. I don't use Discord because I don't understand Discord. Okay, that's just how I am. You try again. I added you in to that particular role. Again, I hate fucking managing roles. I do it for a living, so I don't. Why would I want to do it for freaking for fun? If that makes any sense. Do it on OU. It's like managing OUs all over again on freaking Azure. Hate doing that shit. I mean, it's profitable, but at the same time, I don't like doing it except when I have to do it, which is usually for like fun or for profits, preferably. So we'll let you in. See if it gets you here. Can I invite you to?
Oh, he's gone.
He'll come back. He'll be back. If he runs away, and if I get raided, this will be fun. God, this will be fun. But yeah, I mean, this. I think you gotta ask yourself, what the fuck is Hunter Avalon thinking right now? This girl cares more about the guy who literally tried to kill him, right? Like, and she's pansexual, by the way. So it just goes to show you, it's your turn, you know? It's not your turn, so to speak. Let me see if I can add you in. Fucking goddamn it! Why? Come on. You've already been added. Just give me 1 second. Again, I'm sorry. I'm boomer shit. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You've been added. There you go. You can join in whenever you want. We're going to continue talking about this whole Michael the Archangel killing fucking Lucifer shit. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure this out. Dude, same here. No, more power to you, man. We're just boomers when it comes to tech. I'm like, why can't we have just one thing that works and it works forever? Well, I guess if that was the case, we'd still be on AOL Messenger if people remember that shit. I still have friends that use fucking Yahoo Messenger of all things. I don't even know if that's even safe to use anymore, because it's like some of these old programs are like Call of Duties, and like they get exploited. They find exploits because they're not really patched well. And then when you try to boot up Modern Warfare 2 from like 2002, whatever the fuck it is, there are people flying around the maps and they're just no-scoping you and like aim-botting your ass. And there's really nothing you can do except, buy the next fucking game, right? Get you in here. Alright, so let's see a filler for this. Here you go, Luke. This is something that I think would be a good filler to add in. Here we go. So, that Jackson Henkel thing? That guy who's like very much pro-Putin, pro-Russia and stuff like that? His girlfriend left him.
Wait, Spencer?
No. Jackson Henkel.
Oh, Henkel. Who is he? Henkel. Who is he?
He was the guy who had like this Russian mail order bride from Dubai.
Uh-huh.
This guy right here. This guy, you probably recognize him. His girl left him, apparently.
Let's see.
They're no longer.
Oh, I do remember him.
Yeah, the guy who was basically sucking dick of Putin and sucking.
Let's see.
Yeah. Welcome.
Oh yes. He's he was an offshoot of people like, not the Young Turks, but something like an offshoot for more communist and social progressive versions of like Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, he won MAGA communism and shit like that. Well, his girlfriend left him apparently, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, that sucks.
Even the communists can't keep him.
Welcome, 88. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry for that delay. I'm an old school dude, but I made it in. It's all good.
Right. It's all good. You're around good friends. You're around good people. What can we do for you?
Okay, so you guys, I mean, slight change of topic. I don't know, and about the war in Ukraine, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I have people there in Ukraine, family, and I want to talk about how it's going, and why don't Ukrainians have Apache helicopters and Blackhawks? Why don't they have a damn Air Force? If I'm not okay, I'm just saying, like, if we want Ukrainians to fight, which they are desperately fighting against Russia, why is there no Air Force? Like, what is going on with NATO and all this shit? Like, it's so insane. Like, I don't know what to say. You guys talk to me here.
Okay, I can tell you why. So one of the reasons why we don't give them access to Air Force is because if we give them the X-15, and I actually debated like some of the NAFTO fellas, NAFTO, NATO, the fella guys, right? Like the whole like leftist type of people, like the Dylan Burnside. I've said to them, I've told them, if we give them F-16s, they're gonna want to have the radio equipment that goes with it, which enables the F-16 platform to be able to have radar, to be able to basically outmaneuver the enemy. Otherwise, it's just a giant chassis. Here's the thing: we gave the F-16 to the frickin' Israelis, but they have to come up with their own radio equipment. It has to be built in-house, because if we give them our radio equipment and it gets captured, that could very well open the United States to an attack by, let's say, the Russians or any other foreign power. So the reason we don't give them a lot of the stuff is because operation security reasons, okay? Because we can give them the chassis, we can't give them the equipment to run the machine in some cases. Now, with the Black Hawk helicopters, let's say, I don't know much about helicopters, but when I was working for the big lazy L, so to speak, I'll let you decide what that is.
Right.
They said specifically we can't give people our radio equipment and our comms equipment, because then it could be compromised and it would just be a big old freaking security exploit. Now, at the same time, there's also training that needs to happen. You can't just give someone a helicopter and, like in Battlefield, everyone knows how to fly a F-16. Everyone knows how to drive a tank, or so to speak. They have to train these people. And that's going to be at least 6 to 8 months, I would imagine, to learn how to actually proficiently use one of these things. Not just drive it, but proficiently maneuver, proficiently activate countermeasures and whatnot.
Hold on a second. If NATO is honestly backing Ukraine to try to beat Russia and take out Crimea, they're going to need access to this tech. And what I'm seeing is a lot of, like, Ukrainians going all out, right? Literally all out of their lives. And then what I'm looking at is, like, okay, they're being outgunned. They have an air force against them, and the West is not actually delivering. What is going on? How can Ukraine, 20 million, 25, 30 million people, go against Russia at 140 million? And I'm not saying Ukraine can't do this, but they're going to need equivalent technology, equivalent firepower, and then we're, like, right now in the news, they're like not willing to give packages to Ukraine. What's going on, you guys? Honestly, like, what is going on?
In a simple term, the election cycle. And that is what. No, I'm serious. The election cycle. That's one of the reasons why. Now, we say giving packages to Ukraine. Well, that's just to the Americans, okay? There's also the NATO allies, and, like, Germany. Germany's already fucking talking about giving them, I think it was a tank at one point. There are talking about it, but at the same time, there's radio silence. You have to get proper channels to get information. A lot of the shit on Twitter, especially from the right wing nowadays, and again, I hate to be the guy that says this, but if you're going to get accurate information, you're going to want to go to people like Laserpig, Dylan Burns. I'd highly recommend Dylan Burns, even though he'd probably say I'm an evil fascist, but who knows, right? At the same time, we don't know what's going on over there. We really don't know what's going on.
I have people on the ground in Kiev. I mean, what do you mean? What's going on over there? What do you want to know?
Well, we don't know numbers. We don't know the numbers of who's taking out who. We don't know what's going on. We don't know we don't know. There's a fog of war, and at the same time, a lot of propaganda on both sides. And you say you have a person on Kiev. You have someone in Kiev. I don't have. Again, I can't.
Hey, you guys, this is a war. This is not a game.
I know it's not a game.
We want Ukraine to win. They cannot have Russia with helicopters, Air Force dropping fabs everywhere along the front line. Well, Ukraine has nothing. I mean, look, my people are there. I don't know what to say. Like, how is that even okay or possible? What are you guys' thoughts?
Well, my first thought is you talked about how Russia we need to give them equal technology. Russia doesn't have the technology that you think that they have. There are instances where the MiGs are, like, having tom-toms, like, right in the cockpit, like actual civilian GPSs, and we just turned them off.
But what I'm trying to say is that Russia can drop fabs all the way along the front line, and I want Ukraine to be able to drop equivalent along the front line. I'm not trying to say, somehow Russia is superior to Ukraine. What I want is, where is the equivalence? Look, these guys are going out there. They're trying to fight against Russia to take back their territory. And these guys have 500 kiloton fabs dropping on them all day long. And I want to know, where is the NATO response? It bothers me. And look, I'm not somehow anti-NATO. What I'm trying to say is if they're going to fight Russia, they need to fight Russia equivalent. It needs to be equivalent or more, actually more. And where is that shit, you guys? I mean, come on, dudes are losing their lives left and right. And how are we going to win here? I mean, sorry. Let me know. Sorry. I'm not trying to argue, but what's going on?
Well, first off, again, I can only point to certain channels that I would recommend to you that cover this side more of the logistics side. Task of the Purpose is one of them. Freedom Alternative Research and Analysis, that's another one I highly recommend, but that's more of the geopolitical side. It's not necessarily the war side of things. But Task of the Purpose is one of the better ones that talks more about the logistics and the military hardware and equipment we're giving them. I don't know what's going on over there. You're saying you have people there. I, again, just met you today. I don't know if you're, I don't, anyone who says they have friends in Kiev, I don't believe them immediately. I don't believe them. I don't believe anything, honestly. It's better that way.
You gave me the wrench 2 years ago, before I even went, maybe 2.5 years ago, before I went to Ukraine. I was not there. And now that I have family there. It's not a joke. I'm not trying to somehow posture. I'm just saying, I feel like the West, I know they're supporting quote unquote Ukraine, but you guys, they have to have an air force. If they're going to effectively fight against Russia, they need to have an active air force that is constantly suppressing the opponent. And what I'm seeing is Russia has Apaches, they have Black Hawk type helicopters, they have all sorts of fab, these primitive glided bombs flying in. You guys, where is the Western equivalent? And this needs to happen now. This doesn't have to happen in a year or in 6 months. It's, you guys, if they want to respond, these dudes are fighting the fuck out of their lives. They're giving everything they have. And where is the Western support? I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? I'm not trying to be outrageous here, but come on. This is a country, Russia, which has an economy that is smaller than Florida. How is it that Ukraine doesn't have the equipment? That's what I'm trying to get at here, okay? And my people are there in Kiev. It's just you guys, it is fucked up. I mean, I don't know what to say. If the West wants to fight Russia, they got to actually fight. This is not a joke. Sorry.
No. I mean, we've already sent F-16 fighters over to Ukraine. That's being sent. We've already have them. That's being sent. There's your equivalent. Now again, we're sending it to them, but we need to send them the radio equipment as well. Now the problem with that is it takes time, because now we have to basically get them not only to integrate with not just small ground forces, but we also have to integrate the radar with the already equipment that Kiev and the Ukraine and also Soviet technology that they had from the Cold War. Integrate that with the F-16. A lot of this is a not just a skill gap, but it's a gap of technology. You're trying to integrate East and West, okay? It's not as simple as getting a AK-41.
Coming into Kiev, they have narrow gap tracks. Once you get from Poland to Ukraine, you gotta literally transport everything to a different train so they can get on the Soviet style track. But you guys, I mean, come on. This has been going on for how long? Almost 2 years, and these guys are giving it their all.
Mm-hmm.
No one in the West is dying like the Ukrainians. And what I want to see is Europeans dying. I want to see Americans dying. I want to see them on the lines dying to do this. The idea that a country with 30 million people can somehow fight off a country with 140 million people, this is freaking out, man. I don't even know what to say. I mean, if we really want to beat Russia, then it has to go down. Like with overwhelming numbers and overwhelming equipment. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not pro-Russian here. I'm just telling you, this is not, I mean, what is going on? It seems like a political game where they're throwing a football back and forth, and they're not seriously trying to actually win. Is that wrong, or am I misunderstanding?
Well, there's also the possibility that they're trying to bleed them. Because here's the thing: it's one thing if we beat Russia in Ukraine. It's another thing entirely to get rid of Putin entirely. Because if we get rid of Putin and his mafia, so to speak, and I say his mafia, I'm quoting what the hell is his name? Sergei Tretyakov, right? He calls it to get rid of not just Putin, but also Putin's elite and whatnot, the Dugin and like Malofev and all of them. That's what needs to happen. And I personally think what they're trying to do is they're trying to bleed them. They're trying to make it so that hopefully the Russians will rise up and take out Putin. Because if we could get close enough to get into Russia, we could like put drones and shit into Russia to get to the point where we're attacking the Kremlin, so to speak. We don't have to do it. We don't want to have a fucking war with Russia. We really, really don't want to, because the Russians. Again, is
that realistic? Is that happening now? Look, you guys, and we're talking tens of thousands of Ukrainians have died. And what I want to know is, like, you know how we did it in Iraq, and we left, and Iraq is a nightmare, Afghanistan is a nightmare, Libya is a nightmare, or is the West going to actually just leave and let Ukrainians, I mean, come on. We actually have the actual resources to do this. And what I find strange is, where's the commitment? Am I crazy for thinking like they're not committing? I mean, I'm just saying, like, look, you guys, I mean, you know what I'm saying? The Russians are having a field day over there. They're not moving their front line. They are supplying from their backyard to the front line. It's like literally their backyard. They're not stretching it out. And Ukrainians are being fed into the front line. And I'm like, where is the West here? We need to have overwhelming force. Otherwise, this is not going to work.
Again, that's not what I've heard. That's not what I've heard. We've already given them F-16s. We've given them tanks. We've given the Germans have given them their fucking tanks. There's a bunch of Cold War stockpile. We've given them ammunition. Honestly, you keep saying we need to have people on the ground. There are people talking about sending troops on the ground into Ukraine. We're talking about U.S. troops. Now, there's also the problem if we send, let's say, a bunch of mercenaries or even people volunteering. Okay, they go over to Ukraine. They can't speak Ukrainian. They can't speak. They don't understand Russian or Ukrainian. They can't follow orders or give orders. I can't follow orders or give orders. So unless we all go in there at once, which I think that might happen in 2025, I think, or 2024. I don't know what the future holds. But we've already given them the F-16. We've already given them tanks. We've already given them the Javelin missiles. We're already, seeing from Lockheed Martin basically going in and getting people from the 1960s who worked on, let's say, projects like the Stinger missile program, coming back and basically teaching another generation how to build these particular devices. There is a commitment. I don't know what you're talking about, and to be honest with you, the fact that you keep repeating similar talking points, you claim that someone's in Ukraine. I don't want to be a dick here. I don't want to be a dick, but again, I don't worry about it.
This can produce a 155 millimeter shell for $80. The West pays $3,000 per shell. What?
Is that MSRP or is that like on the market? Because again, a lot of the stuff they're giving the Ukrainians, it doesn't actually have a market value because there is no market for it. It's strictly for the military. So you don't actually get to know what its actual value is. You can only get numbers. That's it.
These are quotes from Europe about the cost of production. I'm just saying that Russia, you know what I mean? They have state-owned enterprises. It's not like capitalist over there. And I don't know if that's like good or bad or whatever, but you know what I mean? They can just grind out like rounds left and right. And in the West, everybody's being charged $3,000, whatever, 3,000 euro per shell. And if we're gonna really like overwhelm Russia, we can't just even match them. We have to overwhelm them. And that's just an artillery. And look, dude, I'm not trying to say I'm against the war. I'm saying if you want to like win against Russia, it cannot be equivalent. It has to be overwhelming, right? It's been 2 years. It has to be overwhelming force. And I don't see it on the field. That's what I'm worried about. And in the U.S., they're like the Democrats and Republicans, they're playing football with like Ukraine's reality, you know, left and right. They're like throwing the football back and forth going, oh, yeah, we're not going to fund them or we might fund them. And I'm like, you guys, you spent what? How many hundred thousands of dudes dead? And then they're going like, oh, you know, we're not sure if we're going to send funding. It's insane. Like, this has to like, what's going on? What's going on in America? Are we really opposing Russia or not?
We are, and when you say funding, again, that's another word that it doesn't compute to me because I've always was told that we're giving them munitions, we're giving them stuff that's valued at billions of dollars, and that's the key word, valued. Okay, what is the value of a javelin missile, a javelin missile launcher, and what's the value of the warheads? Let's say for the javelin missile. You don't know because there's no market feedback. So Lockheed Martin can say we'll sell 1 billion of them to the U.S. Armed Forces at $1,000 per round and $10,000 per launcher, and there is no way of proving that. The numbers are so muddled. That's one thing. Okay. The second thing.
All right.
So that's a big one. So the Russians, you could easily get an AK, okay? AK, small arms, easy to acquire. Same thing with M16s. So that's one thing. Second off, I do believe we're gonna fight. We're still fighting this, okay? We have mercenaries over there. There are mercenaries on both sides. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. Don't worry about it. Again, I would recommend Task with a Purpose. I'd recommend Freedom Alternative. I'd recommend, let's see if I can find another one. Dylan Burns, Laser Pig. Go look those guys up.
I'm going to do this, but I'm just saying, right now, America, it's not looking good. You know, when they're like, Zelensky's like out there asking for help and asking for funds, and no one is actually providing.
On the record, but it should also be noted on the record.
Going on. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is a real fight for you, or a fight for the.
It is a fight for Europe, and it's a fight for the fucking future. You don't think I know that?
Yeah. Where is the backup? I'm just saying, like, I just know, you guys, there are like, 10 people per building missing in every like building in Kiev. I mean, like fathers. I mean, their wives, it's like a primitive culture where like the man brings home the income, right? When he dies, it's not like the wife goes out and makes the same income. And it's just weird. In Europe, they're somehow like equating like these people dying. It's not replaceable. I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm just saying, we have more than enough money in the West to overwhelm our opponent, right? The opponent. So where is this, and why is it not happening? Sorry, I'm frustrated. My people are there. My people are dying. I'm sorry. Sorry to be like I'm not trying to be whiny. I'm just saying, like, come on. You know what I mean? It needs to be overwhelming. It cannot. We don't want to let Russia gear up if we want to win.
They aren't. Well, first off, again, they're not gearing up. They've had multiple issues with their with their small arms. I mean, have you seen any reviews in the AK-12? Like when
that is the Lancet and the drones, this autonomous Lancet shit. Where is the Western equivalent of the Lancet? And I'm not against. Like I said,
I have never heard the Lancet. Let me look that one up. I have not heard of the Lancet drone.
Oh, you go in 80 kilometers behind the front line. It's like automated with AI Lancet drone, and this thing can take out something that looks like whatever, has some kind of AI. I don't know. When it sees a tank, it takes it out. And I'm saying, like, there's no way that we can't produce an equivalent machine. And okay, right, the Lancet, it's a big thing. You know, they're like boasting about it. I'm sure they're selling this shit worldwide now. And where are our equivalent Lancet drone? Look it up. And I'm not.
I am looking it up. It's a UAV. Let me see if I can find this. Let me link this to you, Luke. Here you go.
Like, you guys, this is not somehow super technology. You know, the Lancet drone. I mean, if you and I sat down for 3 or 4 months, we probably could come up with the equivalent software to run the Lancet. Just look it up. And what I'm saying is, like, where is the NATO equivalent? It's pissing me off. Lots of dudes are dying. They're like giving it their all. And there's got to be an equivalent. I'm sorry. And Dashing Rogue, you gave me a bench, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago on our 3 years ago before the war.
Yep.
When Jan Irving was like on the channel here and there. Anyway, love the channel. Sorry for bitching. That's where I'm at with it. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's just that, again, we have given them stuff. We have given them equipment. And again, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know about, and there's a lot of stuff that the actual public doesn't need to know about.
Probably.
Because of operation security reasons. You're not going to know. Now, at the same time, there are people out there who could abuse that. Oh, well, you don't need to know, but just trust me. We totally got the best gear out there. From what I understand, and again, I recommend Task with a Purpose. I recommend following Freedom Alternative. I recommend following these channels, even Dylan Burns. We're winning the war. We are winning the fucking war. The big issue right now is the funds, because from what I understand, we're running low on ammunition, but I don't know what ammunition they're referring to. Are we referring to small arms ammunition? Is that more of a powder issue? Is that more of a primary issue? Or
we're running out of shells. Like, well, in Ukraine, okay? The Russians can fire 10 shells for every one Ukraine can fire. And I'm not, like, it's not about money, because the West has more money. I mean, you know, like I said, Russia has an economy the size of Florida or something like that, right? You know, we cannot, I mean, come on. This can't be an actual win for Russia if the West is really involved. If they're really down, bullshit that, like, somehow an economy smaller than Florida can overwhelm all of NATO. I just, like...
It won't. It won't.
Come on. When is this going to go down? Like, we need to have overwhelming superiority to... Otherwise, I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. I'm bitching. I know.
Well, let me just say this, okay? We again, look into Task with Purpose, look up Freedom Alternative, look at Dylan Burns. Go look at those people up. They'll give you some comfort for tonight. I'm going to let you go here soon in a bit. No,
take care.
No, it's all take care, man. Take care.
You continue the show. I'll be listening. I'm here in the background. Thanks for the discussion. I very much appreciate it.
No, it's all good. It's all good, dude. And I understand your frustration, but
dude,
you got
our people are saying, like, you don't even know. Like, They're taking.
I don't know. You're absolutely right. I don't know, and I can't imagine. And there are people who I've met before who are Ukrainian here in AZ, and they're making and they're just they want to go. They want to go over there. They want to volunteer and they want to fight. The issue right now is one, it's winter, and well again, it's winter, and there are a lot of people out there who are trying to figure out what the budget is going to be. So right now, until we figure out what the budget is, we could yeah.
I know, but come on, Russia. We're fighting Russia on their back door. Their supply lines are short. America needs to not fight over budgets. Are you kidding me? Like, okay, it's okay. I'm just saying I'm frustrated.
Well, again, it should also be noted these are above the board taxpayer funded budgets. These are not just black budgets like the CIA or what have you.
All right, Rogue, continue on, listen on YouTube, and good chatting with you. I'll come back again and when you're talking again, okay?
No, it's all good. It's all good. I would recommend Task with a Purpose because it's a guy who's, he's a military guy, former veteran. He explains a lot of the stuff that's going on from a individual, like on the ground infantryman's perspective on these things. Again, I want you to understand, Russia is not that fucking advanced. They're like, you gotta understand, there's the Hollywood Soviets, or like how we have like the Hollywood Nazis, like the Indiana Jones Nazis. Then there's like the Wignats and stuff. There's also the Hollywood Soviets. Okay.
No, like I said, their economy is smaller than Florida. This cannot be like Vietnam. Like, do you know what I mean? Where Vietnam beat the whole United States, when in fact the Department of Defense said if they were allowed to actually operate without restrictions, they could have ended that in 6 months. And I'm like, is this what's going on in Ukraine, where we have operational restrictions? Come on, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying in that regard. But at the same time, I don't know if we have operational restrictions because I'm not privy to that information. I'm only going off of operations OSINT. I'm only going off of open source intelligence. That means anything that's on Twitter, anything that's on Facebook, anything that's on the net that's accessible to anybody. That's all I have to go off of.
All right, Rogue, take care. I'm glad you have the channel. Keep it up. I'll talk to you soon. Take care, brother.
Take care, brother.
Paka. Right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was interesting. Again, I would highly recommend to all those who are on this channel, go subscribe to Chris Cappy or for the of the Task with a Purpose. Go subscribe to Dylan Burns. And again, Dylan Burns is a lefty. Just to give you a heads up. He's a lefty, so just be careful about that. Just warning you. And at the same time, we are winning this war. There's been a lot of Ukrainian lives, but from what I understand, some of these Ukrainians don't want to adapt to Western tactics. And again, part of this is because of the retardation of the Soviet Union, basically still playing trench warfare, right? They're still thinking it's World War I, and they're still using, drone, howitzers. Yeah, they are still using howitzers to a certain degree. But a lot of this advanced weaponry, you can't just give it to them. We have to train people in that. So, like, for example, play this, Luke. Oh, you're playing the whole F-16, how F-16s are dominate the skies in Ukraine. There you go. Play it.
Which part?
Play some of the... let's see if I can find it here. I'll pull it up for you. Good discussion. Thank you, Polygon. It's all good, man. Because, again, a lot of this is... They don't... Like, we don't want to invade Russia, because if we go in and invade Russia and we get rid of all the... Like, what we should do is just assassinate the oligarchs. That's ultimately what needs to happen. The Soviet baby boomers need to fucking die. Okay, so the rest of the Russians can just live out the rest of their lives and integrate into the world. A lot of the Russians want to integrate in the world. They want to be with the West. But the Soviet managerial class that existed during the Soviet times is still around. And I do believe that this war is a boomer war. We're seeing the boomers of, the West basically, sacrificing their grandchildren but they're doing it because they know that if they go into a nuclear war with Russia, which I don't think will happen, I don't believe we're gonna see nukes fly. I don't think that'll happen. I do, however, believe that we are. It's like I said, it's gonna take time. You're gonna have to train people. You're gonna have to, get not only get equipment, but you have to integrate your equipment with, let's say, the equipment you already have. Like again, when we gave the F-16 to the the Israelis, they had to come up with their own comms equipment. They had the fortune of having Western technology. The Ukrainians do not have Western technology. They have to build it from the ground up. This is the reason why a lot of people will accuse the United States of we're profiting off it. We're building technology for the Ukrainians and stuff like we are to a certain degree, but that's mostly because they need help in this regard. You can play local air superiority. There you go. Play that. Just play the clip. I want to give this guy some level of
which part?
Let's see. Just unmute it right now. Unmute it.
That modern combat relies on. The F-16 access to Western standoff munitions also allows pilots to strike deeper behind Russian lines with minimal exposure to air defense assets. And despite the logistical challenges, the F-16 has a huge supply of weapons, replacement parts, and aircraft to offset losses in combat expenditures, something that can't be said for the MiG-29 and the Su-27. Ukrainian fighter pilot Artyom stated, quote, "Absolutely, the F-16 will make us stronger. Right now, even when we operate, with what's available, being outnumbered and outdated in terms of technology, we still manage, if we at least equalize our capabilities in terms of detection and attack, I'm more than sure that this will lead to the Russians being pushed far, far beyond their borders." So what was holding the West back for so long, preventing them from sending the F-16? Well, the Russian Foreign Affairs Minister, Sergei Lavrov, asserted that F-16s to Ukraine would be seen as, quote, a nuclear threat. In an interview with the state-run Lenta RU news agency, Lavrov expressed that because F-16 fighters can be equipped with nuclear weapons in the U.S. arsenal, Russian forces would interpret F-16s in Ukraine's service as being, quote, in the nuclear sphere. But this is the same strategy that Russia has employed for years now, drawing supposed nuclear red lines in the sand for any action by the West that opposes their interests. Not just in Ukraine, but all over the world. So I think leaders in the United States and Europe were tired of nuclear blackmail. Russia's unilateral ripping up of the Black Sea grain deal and strikes against agricultural infrastructure, these developments actually helped encourage the West to send the F-16.
It also should be noted for Polygon, and I'll just say I'll call you by Polygon because that's how I know you by. It should also be noted that we're not just giving F-16s, but NATO is giving F-16s. And it's not just F-16, it's like their own, like, let's say the Canadian variant of the F-16, or the Israeli variant, or the German variant of the F-16. So there's stuff that's in German, and there's different stuff that's in different languages that is, again, because you come from Jan Irving's group back in the day, it's occulted by language barriers. A lot of the stuff is by language barriers. So what I've done, I don't even watch TV anymore. I don't even have a TV subscription. I don't have a TV cable. I basically just follow people like Task of Purpose. I watch people like Dylan Burns. People like, let's say, Freedom Alternative. I'd highly recommend them. Another guy, the hell's his name? Not Jan Irving, what is his name? Lloyd de Jong. But he's more of the Islamic side of things. And again, we're giving them the technology. We're giving it to them, but they have to also develop the radio equipment for themselves, and they are doing that. But the problem here is that it's a manpower issue right now when it comes to, do you want to send the scientist with an AK to go out and fight in the trenches, or do you want to have him be in an office somewhere in Kiev or away from the rest of the freaking front lines to develop this type of equipment? It's going to happen. Don't worry about it. The biggest issue right now is there's going to be a lot of fear-mongering. And a lot of fear-mongering going on because it's winter. But guess what? A lot of the people... see if I can even find it here. See if I want to give this guy a little bit of... I want to give him a little bit of just clarity for peace of mind. Because a lot of the Russians, like, their radio comms, they don't have encrypted comms, okay? We can intercept their comms, and they're literally talking about how they have nothing. see if I can find another one here. What's his name? Vlad. What's his name? Let's see. Vlad, Ukraine. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, Vlad Vlexler. That's another gentleman. I'm going to put this link in the description for you, because I want you to be at peace of mind. If you really, I'm going to assume for the sake of just for the sake of argument, because again, there are people out there who could just say, "Oh, I have friends in the military, I have friends in the CIA, I have friends everywhere." But I'm going to assume for the sake of argument, you're telling the truth, and just put it out there, okay? Vlad Vlexler. Another guy, very, very, very knowledgeable about what's going on in the Ukraine. There are instances where there are people who literally are being lied to, and they join the Russian army and then they defect. There are people who, again, this is a propaganda war, and if you have to take your time off and you have to sit down and just unplug for a week, do that. It's fine. We're going to make this. We're gonna get through this. So, here you go. Luke, keep playing it. Keep playing the link or the F-16.
And shoot down Russian cruise missiles and drones in order to protect civilian and civil infrastructure. Something the MiG-29 and Su-27 can't do as effectively.
That's another thing also. That should also be something else. If we do have, let's say, F-16s, what's the priority, right? If you're talking about, this is a fight for the Ukrainian survival, do you want to be offensive, or do you want to defend the people who are actually, keeping the economy going? I have there's a cosplay woman I follow. She's a thought. Let's just call her what she is. She's not exactly the best. She's actually kind of, her name's Maria, and she's like there on Instagram. She's like, you could see her like trying to sleep with the sirens and stuff. She's actually bringing food and resources to the front lines, shoes, equipment, vests and things like that. Do you want to protect her and to protect their supply lines, or do you value attacking the Russians and getting them out of Ukraine entirely? Because you have to defend the home plate and also be offensive. So that's another thing you got to take into account. Keep playing it.
Capable radars, which forced UAF pilots to rely on eyesight alone for shooting down these targets. Russia's option for responding to the F-16 shipments are also limited. Diplomatically, the Russian Federation is pretty isolated on the world stage right now. Even China is starting to distance themselves from Russia. Beijing doesn't have much to gain by backing Russia if they do anything drastic in response to the F-16 shipments. There isn't much pressure Russia can put on F-16 donor countries in the political or economic sectors at this point, whereas we weren't sure how that was going to shake out over the first year of the conflict. The F-16 is a multi-role aircraft though, so its capabilities extend to the ground as well as the skies, opening up a whole new arsenal of NATO ground strike munitions. Ukraine has been able to adapt certain Western air-to-ground weapons to their current ex-Soviet planes, but this is an interim solution.
And that's the big one right there as well.
Western weapons are...
That right there is integrating Soviet com-block guns. They're probably made by some artisan in some communist country somewhere, versus something that's mass-produced by the Americans and by NATO. You've got to understand, we have to be able to integrate these two, and it's going to take time. It could very well be as simple as going from imperial to metric or whatnot. It does take time, and again, they don't always have time, but guess what? You gotta make time, right? How are you gonna have time if you don't make it? Keep going.
Extremely accurate and effective, yet they're really designed to interface with advanced avionics and targeting equipment that ex-Soviet jets just don't have. A perfect example of this is the AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missile, which targets and destroys enemy radar systems to blind the enemy and neutralize their longest-range surface-to-air missile batteries. The US donated these HARM systems to Ukraine around July of 2022, and we talked about it then on this channel. And we outlined how they had an immediate effect on Russian air search and defense systems, even with the missiles only operating in self-guidance mode, thanks to the jury-rigged way that it was adapted to fit former Soviet planes. When fitted to a modern Western jet like...
Again, it really boils down to R&D. You guys are going to have to, I don't want to gamify this, but you're going to have to invest in R&D to upgrade, to get your machines and your equipment capable to integrate with NATO standards. That's just the way it's going to go. Keep going.
With the F-16, though, the harm can link itself to the plane's much more powerful radar and sensor systems for greater detection range, allowing the pilot to fire the missile more accurately and with much less danger of return fire. The transition to Western aircraft and equipment is a huge jump in capability. Jets are more than just performance figures and armaments loadouts, though. There are more soft factors, quote-unquote soft factors, that can make a difference for pilots in the air. And Ukrainian pilots are very excited about the F-16's up-to-date digital cockpit. Former Soviet MiGs and Su-27s have these old analog instrument clusters with dials and gauges, with very few digital displays. By contrast, the F-16 uses multi-function displays for all of its most essential information and user interface, with analog dials used as backups for less time-sensitive tasks. Digital cockpits display information better and can customize the pilot's needs by quickly switching modes in an intuitive way that's less taxing on the pilot's attention. And the pilot's attention is a resource that is just as valuable as the plane itself. Pilots already have to keep track of a lot when they're in the air, from navigation, flight data, to weapons, enemy or friendly positions, and radar controls, all managed while at immense speeds. Simplifying controls and information speeds up reaction times and gives pilots greater situational awareness. The United States was greatly invested in pilot safety and comfort. They abandoned analog instruments and switched to multifunction screens. On the screen, we would be able to switch to the mode that we need at the moment when we're flying on a combat mission. We're not interested in stuff like brake pressure. We'd rather have information on target or enemy weapons. And again, the F-16 systems are much more advanced. They give us an understanding of what is coming from where and where it is heading. It's a quote
Compare
from
this to
Ukrainian
this.
pilot.
Business Insider, Luke. Hold this one up. Down Russian fighters jets are being found with basic GPS taped to dashboards, the UK Defense Minister says. This was back in 2022. So we're giving you guys technology that in some of the cases you guys don't even know how to use yet. And in some cases you can't even properly use yet because, let's say, if you have, let's say, the F-16 with integrated technology, you'll be able to spot, let's say, radars, and then when you spot it, you just don't spray and pray with your freaking missiles, which are going to be very important to for the Ukrainian survival, right? These motherfuckers are attaching tom-toms and like fucking, shit that you'd find at a fucking Goodwill to their fucking fighter jets. They're not nearly, just by us showing up, we're more advanced than them. Now, I'm not gonna, again, Polygon, go look up, let's say, the AK-12, the reviews of the AK-12. The Russians have not purged non-corrosive ammunition from their stockpiles. That means that they're still using, again, they have not purged them. So as a result, the AK-12 is still having to be cleaned a fuck ton more. There are people who are finding the AK-12 as a war trophy even, but at the same time, it doesn't work very well. It's not a good gun. It has to be cleaned more. It's not nearly as reliable as an AK-47 or AK-74. So yeah, here we go. Wrecked Russian fighter jets are being found with rudimentary GPS receivers taped onto dashboards in Ukraine because their inbuilt navigation systems are so bad, the UK Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said. Speaking with the National Army Museum in London Monday, Wallace commemorated those who died in World War II and called Russia's invasion of Ukraine senseless and self-defeating. It is self-defeating because these guys basically believe in the shrinking markets theory of economics, similar to how Hitler believed in that shit. He added that there was evidence suggesting Russian military hardware is being pushed to the breaking point by the invasion of Ukraine. GPS receivers have been found taped onto dashboards of downed Russian Su-34s, so the pilots knew where they were due to the poor quality of their own systems. And again, we value our people more than they do. So they're more than willing to throw 1,000 freaking MiGs at you that can't fucking tell friend from foe. And we're willing to give our people access, and by extension your people access, to the ability to not friendly fire, let's say, a friendly jet, let's say, or a friendly target on the ground. It's going to take time for you to integrate, and you know what they say, you plant seeds in, let's say, the winter or fall, and then you harvest them in the spring. And right now it's winter, and winter is coming. Winter is here, I should say. Anyhow, that was a bit of a tangent, but I wanted to give Polygon and I wanted to give those in the Ukraine, or in Ukraine, I should say. I wanted to give them some benefit of that there is going to be, it's always darkest just before dawn. I just wanted you guys to know that. Anyhow, I think we're going to end it here. Luke, any final thoughts?
Incentives for the people that are signed up by the people you signed up, and on until you get the mother of all referral programs. That is no longer just a marketing exercise, but the fundamentals of the business itself. Now, I am not saying anything, but this kind of referral program, when laid out, does tend to make a curious shape.
It looks like a retarded pyramid. Like a fucking, maybe it's a fucking Mesoamerican pyramid. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, be good to one another, take care of one another. Remember, saving the quest is a side quest. This is the Digital Renegade Podcast.